K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com. K98talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98talk.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We believe in the American way, and we built this country called the USA, and we fly our flag because we're proud and free, we're Americans. Red, white, and blue is our way of life. Never back down from a challenge or a fight. Nature provides, God gives the rights, we're Americans. We fish the waters and we hunt the lands. We forge the steel with our own two hands. With what we've got, we do the best we can, we're Americans.
It's time now for the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show on K98 Talk. Now, here's Grouchy.
Good evening, people. Welcome to the new Wednesday night on K98talk.com. You're going to get information overload for 2 hours with yours truly, and I will be followed by Polita Bunny with Unapologetically Bunny's program, and then According to Me with Jason. And it's going to be fantastic. You just can't imagine how good Wednesday nights are really about to get. Well, maybe you can. If you were here Monday night for the premiere of the first half of the Politainment group, you got a taste of Angie and Paul and Daniel Monday night. That was a really good night. This is going to be just a squinch better. Just because it's you're getting the other half of Politainment plus me. I mean, really, if it were any better, it'd be bottled and sold. But anyway, play the music, Mr. Producer. We're going to celebrate. It's great. We're going to celebrate. We're happy to have Politainment here with us on K98. Yet, Mr. Producer is also Rowdy Rick Robinson, host of Wake Up America and America Off the Rails, and another couple of great shows. Can't beat where K98 Talk is headed right now. So, and I just found out that our chat room is iOS compatible. A lot of people's chat rooms are not. So if you have an iPhone or an iPad and would rather use that to get into the chat room, you can. We're so cool that Al Gore's going to think we're ready to melt. But anyway, as we tear into the beginning of tonight's program, we have the Department of Justice issuing a 14-count indictment of Senator Robert Menendez, Democrat from New Jersey. He is one of the Democrat Party's leading voices on foreign affairs. He has been charged with using his office to benefit an eye doctor in exchange for many gifts over their decades of friendship. This investigation's gone on for over 2 years, and Menendez faces charges related to what the prosecutors say were improper efforts by Menendez to help Dr. Solomon Melgen, a Florida-based doctor who was also a contributor to Menendez's campaigns and his longtime friend. Now, Bob Menendez intervened on Melgen's behalf in a dispute with federal regulators over Medicare charges in a bid by Melgen, I keep wanting to call him Meglin, but it's Melgen, port security contract in the Dominican Republic. Now, Menendez is only the second U.S. senator to face a federal corruption indictment in the last 20 years, and he has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing and suggested that any gifts he received from Melgen were part of a close personal friendship that dates to the early 1990s, which, if my math is right, early 90s, early 2000s would be about 10 years before Menendez's date that he had in the Dominican. Yeah. So, we'll see what happens with this. Obviously, there's a lot of political motivation behind this, and this is Obama lashing out at a fellow Democrat who was willing to stand up against what Obama wanted to do. I think plays a big part into this. The prosecutors unveiled charges against Melgen connected to the gifts for favors allegations. A grand jury in New Jersey issued 8 counts each against Menendez and Melgen for bribery, and 3 counts each for honest services fraud. Excuse me, their services are dishonest, so it's an honest service fraud. They also each received 1 count for conspiracy and 1 count for violating the Travel Act. And Menendez was also charged with 1 count of making false statements. I'm sure that charge will be waived as he is a registered Democrat and that is part of their party platform. Whatever. The indictment itself has been telegraphed by DOJ for probably a couple of months now. But in the last few weeks, Menendez's legal team has been making these last-ditch efforts to persuade Holder to not file the charges. The senator says he has no intention of resigning and plans to stay in office during the trial phase of the case, which could last many months or heck, even years. Menendez said, "I'm not going anywhere." He planned a 7 p.m. news conference Wednesday in Newark to address the charges, and I'm sure that there will be slightly fewer people listening to him than are listening on K98 Talk tonight. So anyway, while Congress is amid this 2-week recess now, the charges against Menendez threaten to upend a couple of matters that are under fierce debate in the Senate. One of those being the possible nuclear deal with Iran, as Menendez is a huge opponent of this, and the other being the quote-unquote normalization of U.S. relations with Cuba. And as chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Menendez has been the most prominent Democratic voice raising qualms about the ongoing multilateral negotiations. He is the lead Democratic sponsor of a bill expected to move forward once the Senate returns April 13th that would bring any Iran deal before Congress for a 60-day review. Now, Menendez said as recently as Sunday that he would oppose a deal leaving Iran with a 1-year breakout time to build a nuclear weapon. And this is one of the linchpins that they're actually extending the deadline on in Iran to negotiate further. So this is an important deal. He's not just showboating on this. Last month, the Senate Minority Leader, Harry One-Eye Reid, declined to say whether Menendez should step down from his committee post should charges be filed, although Senate Republicans require members under indictment to temporarily relinquish leadership or top committee posts. Senate Democrats have no such rules, and that would stem from them having no such morals or ethics on the matter either. Senator Menendez to his credit, he has done a pretty decent job when it comes to the Iran deal and the Cuba deal for standing up for the American people's best interests. I won't go as far as Harry Reid and say that he's done a stellar job as chair of the committee and he's been an outstanding senator. I think Menendez definitely has his baggage. One of these other things that could be pivotal with this indictment is the confirmation of Attorney General nominee Loretta Lynch, which has lingered for months, with scores of Republican senators saying they oppose Lynch's confirmation because of her views supporting Obama's immigration policies. Every single Democratic vote against Lynch, plus a potential tiebreaker from Vice President Biden, could be needed to secure a majority. Democrat aides last week said that Menendez could refrain from voting on the Lynch confirmation because of the appearance of conflict created by the Justice Department's ongoing investigation. Including Menendez's expected vote for Lynch, Democrats can count on at least 50 votes of support. All 46 members of the Democratic caucus and 4 Republicans have indicated their support of Lynch. That would leave Biden to cast the tie-breaking vote. We know which way that would go, unless Joe's interested in being indicted too. But there are a few Republicans who have not indicated their intentions on the Lynch nominations, and what I can't gather is why, for the life of me, there are Republicans lining up to confirm this blatant racist as Attorney General. So it is possible that she could win confirmation even if Menendez were to abstain. We need a couple of people to get back into the fold and do the right thing for this country instead of trying to just kick the can down the road. Now, Menendez's case, it began under some of the most bizarre circumstances, even by the standards of New Jersey politics, where corruption is one of the foremost party platforms, and has been a focus of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Newark for several decades. In 2012, during Menendez's bid for a second full Senate term, an anonymous tip using the pseudonym Pete Williams reached out to the media and to the FBI to suggest that Menendez was seeing underage prostitutes on his Dominican vacations with Dr. Melgen. Pete Williams is the name of the last New Jersey senator to be charged with corruption. That's pretty good. The late Harrison Pete Williams, who was convicted and expelled from the Senate. The prostitution angle fizzled, but investigators began sourcing and scouring Menendez's relationship with Melgen. Twice in recent years, 2009 and 2012, Menendez and his top staff members spoke directly to top federal health agency officials about their finding that Melgen had overbilled the government by $8.9 million for care at his clinic. Menendez repeatedly questioned whether federal auditors had been fair in their assessment of Melgen's billing for eye injections to treat macular degeneration. Hey, maybe Harry Reid could use a good eye doctor. Maybe that's another vote we could swing away from Lynch if we get Harry Reid seeing Dr. Melgen down in Florida and side with Menendez on this. But anyway, his office said he questioned the fairness and consistency of the federal agency in its decision-making with all doctors, not just Melgen. But Melgen was a man whose personal life also drew scrutiny. He was seen at times with dates while entertaining Menendez near his vacation home in the Dominican Republic. Menendez also appeared to use his position to help Melgen after the doctor became the chief investor in a company holding a long-dormant port security contract in the Dominican Republic. The contract called for paying lucrative fees for security screening of ships coming into the port. In the summer of 2012, as Melgen donated $700,000 to support Menendez and a couple other Democrats, Menendez pressed for the U.S. to push the Dominican Republic to put the contract into effect in the Dominican. A July Senate hearing he scheduled on Latin American businesses, Menendez urged officials from the Commerce and State Departments to apply pressure to countries that didn't honor agreements with the U.S. businesses. Without naming Melgen, Menendez highlighted the contract to provide security in the Dominican port. So, yeah, that's the long and short of it here. We've got Menendez, who is, he's doing favors for friends. This is the first indictment of anyone since Holder has been in office. It's pretty clear that he stalled it out for a long time. It's not that he didn't try. I mean, he would have indicted Darren Williams in Ferguson if he thought he could get away with it. But, Wilson did his job so cleanly that it was absolutely ridiculous. Holder was so frustrated by that. And that's why there's the huge DOJ investigation and now possibly the beginnings of what could be a nationalized police force, I suppose, if Obama and Holder have their way. But, if Holder had indicted Ted Bundy or Charles Manson, a little different, but, he's going after one of Obama's own. Menendez has been a good supporter of Obama, except for these couple of issues as of late. And we all know it's because Menendez has been outspoken against the Obama nuclear giveaway to Iran, and Obama bowing to the dictators of Cuba and restoring relations without negotiating for anything in return, including letting political prisoners continue to rot in Castro prisons. Menendez didn't back down when Obama had them leak news that he was being investigated. So now Obama's going to get even. And, this is Chicago-style politics at its finest. Destroy your enemies, even if they're not your enemy. Go get them, Obama, I guess. He doesn't like being bucked by Republicans, but he hates being bucked by a Democrat even worse, and feel his wrath. It's a battle. Obama doesn't have to worry. Even if Lynch gets confirmed, whether she is or isn't, he's got Holder, he's got Lynch. He's getting off scot-free here. There's not going to be anything to hang their hats on with this. So that's the big deal in a nutshell. And we're going to press on to another topic now. You have to understand that this one goes back a little bit, but not too terribly far. Once upon a time in the GOP, there was this young guy who seemed to have everything that GOP constituents had been looking for in a candidate since Reagan left office. He was young, he was good looking, and then, as if in a torch passing moment, he was named to one of the best committees DC had to offer at the time. Everybody knew that this was going to be the stopping point for Obama and his crimmigration plans. That's right, crimmigration. That's criminal immigration combined. But alas, this wonder boy was completely overwhelmed by the corruption of his own party and by other senior party and committee members. It hurt Marco Rubio. Marco lost a lot of respect and a lot of conservatives' attention during the Gang of Eight fiasco. But, In the end, Marco admitted that what the Gang of Eight did was wrong. He spoke out against the committee. He apologized, and then he faded away for a little while. And he got back to doing the work that his Florida constituents sent him to D.C. to do. And he started penning some good legislation. And, Rubio, while may not, there may still be a hint of skepticism about Rubio and his intentions. Rubio does appear to be back. And from everything he's saying, he seems to have learned immense amounts from his lesson that he was taught. He got pulled into Gang of Eight, and basically that moron McCain took Rubio and Jeff Flake, and he corrupted them. He corrupted them in the name of politics. That it isn't personal when his entire political machine, virtually some of the top people in his political operation, were in Israel on the ground trying to defeat Netanyahu. This is unprecedented. He didn't send anyone into any other country to try to influence the outcome of those elections. Now, Rubio's comments came in response to the Obama press conference, in which Obama described his relationship with Netanyahu as, quote, very businesslike, in an attempt to kind of shine over, the increasingly hostile nature of this administration's stance towards the Israeli prime minister. And even the New York Times warned last Wednesday that President Obama's openly antagonistic rhetoric against Netanyahu is backfiring and turning some who were formerly anti-Netanyahu Israelis into his defenders. So, we've got a related story here where Ted Cruz and Congressman Lee Zeldin from New York teamed up on a strong letter sent to the Secretary of State, John Kerry, who, if he could take the feed bag off of his mouth long enough, quit chewing on those oats, he'd be able to read it. But it demanded a thorough investigation into the details behind news reports that U.S. taxpayer dollars are being used to oust Prime Minister Netanyahu in the Israeli elections. Now, they wanted to know, has President Obama launched a political campaign against Netanyahu and his representatives? Cruz asked in a press statement. Breitbart News reported on the anti-Netanyahu left-wing Israeli newspaper Haaretz, reported on a group called One Voice, reportedly funded by American donors, that was paying for the Obama campaign, was paying for the Obama campaign team. That group was reportedly being led by Obama's 2012 field director, Jeremy Byrd, who was also the founder of Battleground Texas, the federal and state PAC that worked overtime to turn Texas blue in November 2014 election. They did fail, if you recall those election returns. The Cruz-Zeldin letter to Kerry specifically spelled out Haaretz's findings, including that One Voice was working with political campaign machine Victory 15 to replace Israel's government. One Voice and V15 were scheduled to merge before the March 17th election. I have not seen anything additional in the Jerusalem Times or in Haaretz to indicate that merger did or did not happen. So I'm still a little vague on that, but these organizations were intending to merge. Whether they did it before or after the election, I will find out. It's also detailed one of the lead V15 organizers said that instead of calling the operation Anyone But Bibi, members of V15 merely phrased it slightly differently, saying, "We say replace the government." So it's not directed at an individual. Now, we're at the bottom of the hour, so we're going to burn a commercial break here. But when we come back, we're going to continue looking more into V15 and One Voice and their connection with the Obama administration and see what's what with this and see what we can find out. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes right here on K98 Talk.
Oh, but ain't that America? You and me, ain't that America? Something to see, baby, ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
This is Misty, owner of Wax It Studio in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I'm here to talk to you about a skincare product called Theramedics. Theramedics has a wonderful line of products from anti-aging to hyperpigmentations all the way to acne. In fact, everyone at some point in our life is affected by acne. Acne can cause a great deal of embarrassment and anxiety, and in order to prevent and help other people, I have tapped into this wonderful product called Theramedics. Visit my website at www.prettyskindeep.com. Again, that's www.prettyskindeep.com.
Oh, but ain't that America?
We're gonna spread happiness. We're gonna spread freedom. Obama's gonna change it. Obama's gonna lead 'em.
So let me be clear. You didn't build that.
Everything he's done is clean as a whistle. He's never not only broken any law, he's never done anything wrong. He's the perfect father, the perfect husband, the perfect American.
Hey y'all, this is Sam Janney, or the Bunny as many of you know me by, your friendly neighborhood bad girl of conservatism. Here to talk to you about my show. I'll talk about conservative issues, my top 10 douchebags of the week, and have some pretty badass conservative guests on the show. All that, plus me, your resident bunny with a chainsaw.
Wednesday nights will never be the same. It's Unapologetically Bunny. Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on K98 Talk.
Hey everybody, this is Jason, host of According to Me. I'd like to invite you to check out my show. It's a 2-hour show that lasts 60 minutes in. Listen, I hate to interrupt, but one thing I can do is read off a script. Just say, let me be clear a lot. It works. President Obama, I can handle this. It's a radio promo. I'm not green. I've done this before. Did someone say green? Now, Al Gore is here. Listen, I'm just trying to record a radio promo. Do you mind? Now, do you say good things about me on the show? No, not at all. But if it makes you feel any better, I rip on Republicans just as much. The AM radio frequencies give off very high levels of radiation. Look, my show is on the internet, which you invented. Can I just do my promo? I got a pen. I can veto that, you know. I know you got a pen. It's not a law. It's a radio promo. Listen, just listen to my show. Barack Obama and Al Gore hate it. Here's an executive order. Don't listen to his show. He doesn't like me. He's racist. And he doesn't recycle. That's it. I'm done. It's According to Me, Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on K98 Talk.
Welcome back. When we left, we were talking about V15 and One Voice and their funding sources that alleged by Rubio came from the Obama administration. So, you know, there have been many years of right-wing governments during which little has happened V15 said it's time to change course and give people hope. V15 said they were going to go to homes and they were going to win this election. The work with the research team that Byrd brought has really ignited sparks, they said. Once again, how did that go? Oh yeah, BB1. Yeah. So, how the hell, is this Byrd? What was his first name again? Where's he at? Anyway, how is it this guy is one of Obama's top campaign people? He failed miserably in Texas. He failed miserably in Israel. I don't get it. How has this guy not been shuffled off to, be Hillary's scraps or something? But anyway, this letter from Cruz and Zeldin expressed pointed concerns over the financial ties One Voice has to the State Department. They did receive grants from the State Department in 2014. One Voice also lists the United States State Department as a partner on its website. In their 2013 annual report, the CEO of One Voice touted the organization's work together in partnership with the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv and the U.S. Consulate General in Jerusalem, made possible by two parallel U.S. government grants. The Cruz-Zeldin letter went on, and it said that this administration's relentless harassment of Israel is utterly incomprehensible. The Islamic Republic of Iran is pursuing the deadliest weapons on the planet, and there can be no doubt that their first target will be Israel, followed by our allies in Europe and then the United States. This administration should be focusing its animosity on the very real enemies we face, not on our staunch allies. Cruz also said in the press release statement. Now, Cruz and Zeldin, they asked for prompt answers to 8 specific questions. And those questions were, number 1, how much funding has the U.S. government provided to One Voice, Peaceworks Network Foundation, and any connected initiatives, projects, or subsidiaries? 2, who approved providing such funds? Number 3, what is the oversight and accounting process for how these funds are being spent? Number 4, how often and on what dates has such funding been provided? Number 5, what were the specific reasons and terms for providing funds, and how are these funds specifically being spent or were spent? 6, can the Department of State guarantee that none of these funds have been or will be used in the endeavor detailed above, namely the partnership with V15, who actively seeks to unseat Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu or exert undue influence over any Israeli political process? Number 7, was there any knowledge from the State Department or other U.S. government officials of the partnership with V15 prior to providing funds to One Voice? And lastly, does One Voice's work with V15 violate its 501c3 status or the status of the Peaceworks Network Foundation as tax-exempt organizations, and should such statuses be revoked? Now, Zeldin said that it's completely unacceptable to use U.S. tax dollars to influence the elections in Israel. And I can't help but agree with this wholeheartedly. I can't imagine anybody that would think that it's okay for our tax dollars to be spent, regardless of your party affiliation, on a foreign government's election based on the desired outcome by our president and his administration. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. This shit cannot happen. Period. So, looking for follow-up pieces on this. I've also sent an email to Ted Cruz's office and asked for an update on this. But I haven't seen a whole lot on a follow-up piece on this yet. So I will keep you in the loop on this, I promise, as I always do. And we're going to be pressing on to the next item up for auction here, which is, this is a great piece. You guys are going to love this. This past week, a bill prohibiting federal employees from looking at porn on government computers on government time passed the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. Think about this for a minute. This bill is just passing committee. I think it's quite a sad commentary on the state of government affairs that this bipartisan bill's advancement is news, let alone good news. How sad is it that we have to pass bills into law to prohibit this from happening? Why is this necessary to begin with? Well, we got to go back in time a little bit, back to an IG report, the Inspector General report on federal employees in May of 2014. They said that several federal employees were watching pornography at work, and that a quote-unquote top-level employee was watching up to 6 hours each day while on the clock. This employee at the Environmental Protection Agency allegedly downloaded over 7,000 files of pornography onto a government computer and watched them for 2 to 6 hours out of his 8-hour day. What the hell? I might not be the most upstanding citizen in the world, but I'll tell you one thing. By God, I'm not using my government computer to do anything that could possibly be misconstrued as improper or let alone possibly illegal. This is absolutely ridiculous. When the OIG special agent arrived at this employee's workspace to conduct an interview, the special agent witnessed the employee actively viewing pornography on his government-issued computer. Alan Williams, Deputy Assistant Inspector General for Investigations at the EPA, said this very thing to the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. Subsequently, the employee confessed to spending, on average, between 2 to 6 hours per day. Can we just split the difference and say 4? He spent half of his work days viewing pornography at work. The improper conduct emerged as a result of a broader investigation into the agency following the 2013 conviction of senior EPA official John Beale, who falsely claimed to have been working for the CIA and defrauded the agency out of almost $900,000 in pay and benefits. Now, worse yet, thanks to the Civil Service Protection Program, the EPA couldn't even fire this top-level official, and he remains on paid leave today, collecting a roughly $120,000 annual salary, courtesy of John Q. Taxpayer and Jane Q. Taxpayer, of course. So all of this absurdity is what prompted Representative Mark Meadows from North Carolina the sponsor of the Eliminating Pornography from Agencies Act, that would be the EPAA, to apply to the EPA and other government agencies to put an end to it. So over the last several months, it's become far too obvious, and it's the type of behavior that was first highlighted at the EPA has been discovered over and over across a host of different agencies, and ignoring this issue would not only condone the abuse of taxpayer dollars, but also embrace what they consider to be an unhealthy workplace. I don't want to know what ancillary activities might be happening that would make the workplace unhealthy over this, unless they're using this in a very broad sense of the word unhealthy. Today's action should send a clear message that it's time for a zero tolerance policy on this kind of behavior, said Meadows in a statement. While there are rules in place at most agencies to ban this kind of unprofessional and unacceptable workplace behavior, it continues to take place. There's absolutely no excuse for federal employees to be viewing or downloading pornographic materials on the taxpayer's dime. Meadows introduced similar legislation in the last session of Congress, but it was not acted upon. Now, here's what I'm getting at. These federal agencies, they're not all tied into one central database where there's one federal network that all the agencies tie into. That is not the case. Each group or agency has their own little umbrella. Basically, they are their own wide area network at their agency. And the IT professionals need to be counted upon to bring forward solutions. And I only talk about this because this is part of what I do for a living. There are filters that can be put in place on the networks that would prohibit them from accessing not just these specific sites, but sites that meet a general criteria in description altogether. So, this filter or filtering software is a package that can be purchased, and there are some really ingenious ones out there. I would consider that as a taxpayer a better expenditure of my funds than to pay the salary of some jackass watching pornography. So, let's get this tightened up. I think the act should be passed. The EPAA should be passed. I think that's a foregone conclusion at this point. But I also think that there are proactive items that can be done that basically just prohibit people from getting to these sites. And when you try to type one in, boom, you get the message up on your screen that says this is blocked because it doesn't meet the criteria of whatever. So, let's stop screwing around. If K-12 organizations out there have to have this kind of software to qualify for federal funds, then by God, I think these federal agencies should have to have software like that to qualify for taxpayer funds. How about that shit? All right.
Hey, Grouchy, give me just a second. All right, folks, sorry to cut in on you, but for any of you that were listening on the website or on the app, we were having a technical issue. So for the last about 5 minutes, you've been hearing my show. As of now, we have now rejoined the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show, which is live. So for those of you who listen to the podcast later, your listening will be unaffected. But for some reason, for about 5 minutes, I had a hiccup on the server. So we're back live now. Sorry, Grouch.
Should I rewind?
Well, I mean, you can if you want, but they'll hear it later in the podcast anyway. Because we didn't lose you there, we just lost you on the stream, which pulled you from the site. I knew something was up when he started talking about the co-pilot, because that's what I was talking about yesterday. I'm like, oh crap, that's not his show.
Oh crap! Somebody let Dave know. Dave, if you're still listening, sorry, bro. Appreciate you being there, but yeah, that was Rick's show. I was talking about the little porn browsers going on in federal agencies, and I'm going to reiterate the point, since we did lose connection there just here at the end of this. This EPAA, not EPA, but EPAA, which is Eliminating Pornography from Agencies Act, does need to be passed. I think it should be a no-brainer. I think it should take about 6 minutes, which would be long enough for all of them to raise their hand and somebody to go done, and put this into law. But I was also saying that we need to take some proactive measures, because I work IT as part of my day job, and I understand these issues. We actually have to have filtering software in place on our network to qualify for federal funding in the education system. So if we have to have this filtering software that basically prohibits children and teachers from getting to objectionable websites to qualify for federal dollars in education, why the hell shouldn't federal agencies have to have the same type of software to qualify for taxpayer funding? Can I get an amen? This kind of bullshit is the double standard that government has been running on us for years, and this shit needs to stop. Now, moving on. We have an Iranian journalist that's been writing about the nuclear negotiations between the United States and Iran that has defected. In an interview, Hossein Motahi had some harsh words for his native Iran. He also has a damning indictment of America's role in these nuclear negotiations. He says the U.S. negotiating team are mainly there to speak to the other countries on Iran's behalf and convince them that this deal is a good thing. This is what he said to a TV station just after defecting from the Iranian delegation while abroad for the nuclear talks. The P5+1 is made up of the U.S., the U.K., Russia, China, France, and Germany. In his television interview, Motaghi also he gave some shine to Western critics of the proposed nuclear deal, which has seen the White House pursue a more conciliatory line with Tehran than some of America's European allies in the negotiating team. And like the man said, they're there to do Iran's bidding, basically. And convince these other countries that this is actually not a bad thing. So this guy Motahi was a close media aide to the Iranian president Rouhani, and he has now sought asylum in Switzerland after traveling to Lausanne to cover the nuke talks between Tehran and the West. He also managed public relations for Rouhani during his 2013 election campaign and was said by Iranian news agencies to have quit his job at the Iran Student Correspondents Association. So interesting. He then appeared on an opposition television channel based in London to say he no longer saw any sense in his profession as a journalist, as he could only write what he was told. We have that same type problem here in the U.S. in that a lot of journalists only write what they're told by Democrats because it matches their agenda on a personal level. So there are a number of people attending on the Iranian side at the negotiations who are said to be journalists reporting on the negotiations, he told Iran Frada television. but they are not journalists, and their main job is to make sure that all the news fed back to Iran goes through their channels. So basically, this is the Department of Propaganda. We know this. China has it. Russia has it. They work it to a science, and this is the same thing Iran is doing. Mutahi said that his conscience would not allow him to carry out his profession in this manner anymore. He was a journalist and a commentator who went on to use social media successfully to promote Rouhani to a youthful audience that overwhelmingly elected him to power. Now, when we say power, power's relative, because we all know that even the president of Iran answers to the Ayatollah Khomeini, the supreme leader. That's a foregone conclusion. Rouhani was described by many as a moderate in the West. We're finding out that maybe that's not quite so true. So, anyway, today is April 1st, and the deadline in these negotiations passed at midnight last night. But as John Kerry said, they were so close to being able to hammer out a framework from which to work towards a negotiation. Are you catching this bullshit? That they would go ahead and extend the talks a little more. So we are now in the third extension of the Iran nuclear talks. As negotiators in Lausanne raced to nail down by midnight, the outlines of the deal that's due to be finalized by June 30th, diplomats cautioned that with some tough issues still to resolve, things may change. And we now know that they did indeed change as Iran pulled away from the deal. There's still a problem with this negotiation going on, and that is that Rouhani can send anybody he wants, and he can attend these things himself if he wants, but we don't have any kind of commitment or indication from Khomeini where he's willing to go. And nothing's going to be finalized if Khomeini doesn't sign off on it. So I don't care what points they think that they've struck and come to agreements on, whether it's a specific number of centrifuges or exporting stockpiles. This is all speculation. And, we have, the fact is we will conserve, they will conserve a substantial number of centrifuges, and that no site's going to be closed, in particular Fordo. And these are the basis of these talks. And this is according to the Iranian diplomat. So, a senior member of the Iranian negotiating team said that the publication of such information by certain Western media is aimed at creating an atmosphere to disturb the negotiating process. So if he's saying that they're going to be a substantial number of centrifuges and that no site's going to be closed, who is out there saying that this is all but a done deal? I haven't seen anybody doing that yet. I have, of course, the MSNBC parade, they must own stock in chapstick because they've kissed the Obama administration's ass for over 6 years now and show no sign of slowing down in that regard. They are rah-rah supporters of anything that this president wants to do, and it's nauseating. It is just straight out nauseating that there isn't a journalist at MSNBC. But, I guess that's to be expected from the NBC family. Brian Williams, everybody else at MSNBC, Sharpton, Minka, you name it. They're all over there. You know who I'm talking about. But under the outlines that are supposedly coming together to supposedly stop Iran from developing a nuclear bomb, the underground Fordo facility near the holy city of Qom would cease uranium enrichment, hinting that it would stay open for other purposes. But if they're going to retain centrifuges, what other purpose might they have? So anyway, diplomats are stressing that everything was interrelated and that there were still unresolved issues, such as Iran's nuclear research and development program, which Western nations fear could mask a cover path to seek nuclear weapons. Another hurdle is a network of US, EU, and UN sanctions imposed on Tehran over the years for its nuclear activities and for violating the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Again, that's a treaty, and we have seen Obama's willingness to either ignore or just disregard treaties. This is not a problem for Obama. He doesn't care. He'll just tell them to keep on. Iran has called for the sanctions to be completely lifted, but a senior U.S. official said there was general agreement about a phased approach between all parties, with different elements seen as having different timelines and durations. Basically, you know, they want to put them on a timetable. It remained unclear, however, whether agreement on the broad contours of a deal could be reached by Tuesday midnight, which we know it wasn't. Centrifuges render uranium suitable for nuclear power generation, but at high priorities are also for the core of a nuclear bomb. Iran's stockpiles of enriched uranium could, in theory, be further processed to this level. So, you know, here we are. We're looking at a nuclear Iran. Of course, the first thing they would do is to strike at Israel, but that's not. You know, they would probably nuke Israel, but that's not their primary thing. They could strike at Israel right now if they wanted to. They want the nukes as their trump card, you know, so that they'll feel secure with nukes to back up their attack on Israel. So anyway, we are at the top of the hour. It is time for another commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to get into crimmigration. And we're going to talk about this new program, we'll call it for now. Anyway, stay tuned. You're on K98talk.com with the Grouch.
Oh, but ain't that America? You and me, ain't that America? Something to see, baby. Ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
Where did that?
K98talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98talk.com.
This is Misty, owner of Waxit Studio in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I'm here to talk to you about a skincare product called Theramedics. Theramedics has a wonderful line of products from anti-aging to hyperpigmentations all the way to acne. In fact, everyone at some point in our life is affected by acne. Acne can cause a great deal of embarrassment and anxiety, and in order to prevent and help other people, I have tapped into this wonderful product called Theramedics. Visit my website at www.prettyskindeep.com. Again, that's www.prettyskindeep.com.
A show that will change internet radio as you know it.
Okay, so let's talk about the story, which I think is hilarious. I'm just going to refer to it as the poop plane because, like, what else are you going to call it? But there was this plane, okay? It took off. It's the British Airways. They were going to Dubai. I have a hard time pronouncing that one.
It was British
anyway,
Airways? It wasn't Jet.
It
wasn't Jet Poo?
It
Couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
I like it. This story, if we've ever had a story that is up our alley, it's this one. It's bathroom humor up from front to back of the airplane, apparently. They had to turn around to go back to Heathrow because they said the smelly poo in the toilet became unbearable for passengers, and it was so bad. They decided it's so bad that they had to turn around and go back rather than continue their flight. They decided that there wasn't enough Febreze, there wasn't enough anything to handle this.
Maybe they should see a doctor. Is there a GoFundMe for this guy?
It must be a woman, because a woman's going to be mortified and embarrassed. If this is a guy, you know that he's like out there on Twitter and everything else saying, dude, I took down an airplane with how bad that I laid it down.
There was an old woman who flew on jet poo. She ate so many burritos she didn't know what to do.
So we turned the plane around because they made a big stink. We've just made it into a haiku at the end, but there had to be something.
Real Serious Nonsense, Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, now on K98 Talk.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program America Off the Rails. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
The feeling most people get when they hear a Barack Obama speech, I felt this thrill going up my leg. I don't have that too often.
Steady.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. Ricky Robinson, host of America Off the Rails, will tackle the important issues facing America today as he tries to keep America from coming off the track. Get ready to hear the truth every Monday through Friday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, and on Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern and 11 Central here on K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network.
Home of the free, especially if you're not an American. At least that's what Representative Gutierrez would have us believe and want us to believe. There is, and this is priceless. Y'all are going to love this. I swear to God, you will. I've got some audio queued up, and I want you to hear this. It'll take just a minute here, but this jackass is basically going to explain how he has put a toolkit together for these illegal immigrants and what they should do with it. So without teasing it any real further bit, Mr. Producer, let's go ahead and cue that audio and let's play this jackass. Wrong audio.
Wrong jackass. One moment.
I created this toolkit for you to protect yourself from deportation. Even though you cannot apply yet for the expanded DACA and the new DAPA programs that were announced by the President on November 20th, 2014, you can still prepare. First, gather copies of the most important documents that you are required to collect in order to apply. Examples are documents that prove your identity, that prove you are the parent of a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, or that you graduated from high school, or that you prove you've lived in the U.S. since January 1st, 2010. That's January 1st, 2010. Prove you've been here since then. A complete list of documents is located on my website. And the checklist for the most important documents is included in this toolkit. You need to keep those documents in a safe place. Don't want you traveling around with them once you put them all together. Attach this toolkit to an envelope or folder so that you know where your important documents are. You should also provide copies of these important documents to a relative, a friend that you can trust, and that can come and help you in case of an emergency. There are workshops happening all over the country, like the ones my office conducts, that local organizations and leaders are holding. Go, get educated about the requirements for DACA and DAPA, and prepare. Second, I want you to cut the card in the toolkit and keep it in your wallet and use in case there's an emergency. Use this card only if you are arrested and detained by an immigration official. So if the police pull you over because you got a bad tail light or you were going a little fast, it's not when you pull this out. Only pull it out when you're detained by an immigration agent. It explains in English and Spanish that you're eligible for DACA or DAPA. By using this card after you've been arrested or detained, you can explain that under the policy in place today, you should be released because you're not a priority for deportation. You should contact the trusted family member or relative who is keeping copies of your important documents and prove your eligibility for DACA or DAPA. The card also provides space for you to write down the name of your family or friend, or the community-based organization, or the legal services organization, or a lawyer that can help you. You should decide who your emergency contact will be now so that you are prepared in case of an emergency. I hope that you never have to use this card. But if you do, don't be scared because you're prepared. Soon enough, the DACA and DAPA applications will be available. When that time comes, you will have everything you need to apply.
Okay. So, it sounds harmless enough on the surface. He's saying all the right things that, if you qualify for these programs, DACA and DAPA, that you can get this toolkit. But listen to what he's saying. He's putting this on his website. They're having these little cards printed in these little toolkits, which I know you couldn't see him, but it's just like a three-fold over pamphlet with information, and it's got the cutout card in the middle of it. This is the card he was telling them to cut out and put in their wallet, and to use that if immigration stops them. So my question would be, what's to stop illegals who don't qualify for DAPA and DACA to download these damn toolkits, to cut these cards out and put them in their wallet and use them to get off scot-free, claiming that they actually do qualify? And what do these jackasses hope to accomplish by doing this? I mean, really, we are not all Americans in the sense that Obama pushes this, oh, we're all Americans. Yeah, he says, oh yeah, well, South America, Central America, North America, it doesn't matter, we're all Americans. No. Not just no, but hell no. Listen, there's a reason we have an immigration policy in this country. Okay? And there's a reason that it needs to be enforced. And if there comes a day where we don't need an immigration policy or to have it enforced, that'll be a day when there's no more welfare. Okay? You can't have open borders and a welfare state. No country can survive that ridiculous socialistic bullshit. It just can't happen. So, Mr. Guterres, why don't you kindly take your toolkit and shove it in your toolbox? Because I see a legal challenge coming to this, sir. You know, the card says in both English and Spanish that you can explain under the policy today that you should be released because you're not a priority for deportation. Let me tell you something. If you're in this country illegally and you're doing things illegal while you're in the country illegally, you're a damn priority for deportation. And I'd like to deport you in a three-legged race to the border to get my foot dug out of your ass, because you're what's wrong with this country right now. And the idiots that are in this country legally that are supporting these illegals, they're what's wrong with this country too. And I don't give a damn how nice they think they are being. I don't give a damn how nice they want to be. I don't think they care one damn thing about anything except scoring some votes for their next election. They don't give a damn about the people, because if they did, they'd be doing more. Now, DACA is a deferred action for childhood arrival program, and DAPA is the deferred action for parents of Americans and lawful permanent residence program. DAPA should be called Anchor Parents program, because that's basically what it is. This is for anchor babies, and we need to stop that bullshit too. The card reads, "Do not deport me because I am eligible for DACA or DAPA," and it repeats that line in Spanish. Now, you know, they keep saying that DACA and DAPA applications will be available soon, and when that time comes, you'll have everything you need to apply. DACA and DAPA are on hold due to a federal injunction. So, you know, Guterres has his website set up. He's ready to go. He's shoveling all the manure you can possibly do. And, you know, what can you do? What can you do? We need to stop Obama's crimmigration. Obama's criminal immigration plan is the disaster waiting to undo this country. And we have to stop it. End of story. So let's see. There are no longer 53 Democrats in the Senate. There are 2 nominal independents who associate with them. And this clown caucus has chosen since 2007 to place itself under the malignant leadership of Harry Reid, Washington's answer to Frankenstein's monster, stitched together out of the worst bits of Roger Chillingsworth, Joe McCarthy, and Droopy, a teacup tyrant who has filled his pockets to the tune of $10 million while decrying the allegedly baleful influence of the wealthy on politics. Yes, this is Harry Reid, folks. This is a man who has done violence to ethical standards left and right, using campaign funds for personal expenditures and trying to hide payments channeled to his granddaughter, who takes to the Senate floor to make patently false, malicious, and increasingly loopy claims about his political rivals, and who is leading a partisan assault on the Bill of Rights. If America needs a good reason, or even another good reason, to hand Democrats their head in 2016, then they would do well to study the career of Harry Reid, Democrat from Ritz-Carlton. That's a little joke. He's actually from Nevada. The sheriff of Nottingham to Barack Obama's Prince John. Harry Reid is in some ways a laughable figure. And one of his few charms is that he is known to make self-deprecating observations about his own prepossessing nature. His obsession with the Koch brothers and Koch Industries and the intimations of venality that surround him might be grounds for annoyed eye-rolling. Well, he can roll one eye anyway. The other eye, I think, got rolled for him. If they were not a piece of, with his audacious war of the most important of our fundamental constitutional liberties. The cheap histrionics, the gross hypocrisy, the outright lies, the misusing of campaign funds to tip his staff at the Ritz $3,300, all of that would just about be bearable. But the shocking fact is that Harry Reid and his Senate Democrats are quietly attempting to repeal the First Amendment, and that elevates Senator Reid's shenanigans from buffoonery to villainy. In an editorial piece, the pugilist at rest, gutting the Bill of Rights to silence political criticism is a dramatic move, but then Senator Harry Reid has also had a flair for the theatrical. In 1978, he was serving on the Nevada Gaming Commission and helped the FBI conduct a sting against casino operator Jack Gordon, who offered him $12,000 to approve a new gaming device. Aware that the transaction was being videotaped, the future Senate Majority Leader seized Gordon by the neck and throttled him, screaming, "You son of a bitch, you tried to bribe me." After Reid had left the Gambling Regulatory Agency, his wife reported discovering a wire connecting the ignition in her station wagon to the gas tank, apparently a crude attempt at a car bombing that was nearly identical to an unsuccessful earlier effort directed against another former gaming commissioner. Reid blamed Gordon for this episode, and his former bodyguard, Gary Bates, offered to assassinate Gordon in retaliation. Reid declined that offer, and the matter went no further, allegedly. Asked later about it, Bates confirmed that he did offer to murder Gordon on a hunch and did not seem to think very much of it. "I'd do it again," he told the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Reid relates the offer to commit murder as merely an amusing anecdote in his memoirs. The police logged the car bomb as an attempted homicide. Attempted car bombings were kind of a thing at that time in Vegas. There were 2 failed car bombs outside of restaurants involved in disputes with the Culinary Union in 1977, and the head of that union was murdered shortly thereafter. Don't know if Bates was involved in that or not, but anyway. That was Reid's political incubator, basically mobbed up unions, fighting mobbed up gambling interests, both sides quick to resort to violence, but too blisteringly incompetent to manage very much of it effectively. Reid had some famous showdowns with the mob, one of which inspired the courtroom scene in Casino. But it's also true that the infamous gangster Joe Augusto was recorded on a wiretap boasting that he had Harry Reid, whom he nicknamed Cleanface, in his pocket. So, accusations go back and forth. Was Harry Reid dirty? Was Harry Reid not dirty? Who knows? But gaming regulators investigating the claim for 5 months found no wrongdoing by their former colleague. How quaint that they investigate their own. Reid has been dining out on that car bomb story for decades, and though his tough guy image is dear to him, in an unintendedly hilarious bit of autobiographical prose, Reid poses to himself the rhetorical question, what goes through your mind as you start a fistfight with your future father-in-law? Which is what he did when the older, smaller man invited the future senator to stop visiting his daughter. First comes the pandemonium and the yelling and pushing and crying and the sting of a punch that just landed. Love comes later. It has been a while since Harry Reid has fessed up to punching any old man in the face, but C-SPAN watchers will have the distinct impression that he might yet be moved to an act of pugilism if he has a shot at Charles and David Koch. Obsession is not too strong a word for Reid's relationship with the Wichita-based libertarian philanthropist. As of this writing, he has heaped contempt upon their surname at least 134 times on the Senate floor. He has made wild and implausible claims about them that have been debunked, and has even made hints that they might hide the moon under their cloaks at night. But, most recently, Reid cited a White House report, and I'm going to read this to you here. It says, and this is Reid quoting, "I have here in my hands a list," as some other senator, he claimed, that identified Koch Industries as one of the main causes of global warming, emitting more greenhouse gases than Dow, Exxon, and General Electric combined. As the Post pointed out, the report says nothing of the sort. I gotta like the Washington Post sometimes. Even though they're a little friendly to the Democratic side of the House, they'll pull the carpet on them every once in a while. But in fact, many of those in the business of ranking companies by their contributions to global warming, a questionable pursuit at any time, do not even put Koch Industries in their top 50 or top 100 lists, because it's mainly in the business of refining and petroleum derivatives rather than in the business of drilling for oil. Koch Industries is, by the White House's reckoning, responsible for 0.006% of worldwide greenhouse gas emissions. Now, I would love to see the meter they use to measure that shit. But Reid's office put out a subsequent statement maintaining that facts and fact checkers be damned. The senator's broader point is still somehow true. Charlie and David Koch are involved in a very broad array of political and philanthropic endeavors. The New York City Ballet dances in the David H. Koch Theater at Lincoln Center. The Charles Koch Foundation provides grants to universities offering courses that explore the principles of free enterprise and classical liberalism. And the Fred and Mary Koch Foundation does similar things for Kansas public schools. They provided seed money for the Cato Institute. Koch's support has been critical to such organizations as the Competitive Enterprise Institute and Americans for Prosperity. They are also involved in electoral politics, maintaining a PAC that spent $43,000 in the cause of electing Scott Walker in 2010, who I hope they contribute heavily to for 2016. But their main activities were for many years several steps removed from politics, as such as contributing to organizations as the Mercatus Center, a free enterprise think tank at George Mason University, and the Institute for Humane Studies, an organization that helps young scholars with an interest in the classical liberal tradition to enter careers in academia and public policy. While Reed and other Koch critics habitually denounce the brothers as conservative and right-wing, the Kochs have also provided support for campaigns against the Patriot Act, in favor of homosexual marriage, in favor of legalizing marijuana, and critically in opposition to corporate welfare, which Charles Koch describes as inducing businesses to compete with rivals in securing government largesse rather than winning customers. And I kind of like that thinking. We got some faces popping into the chat room. Dave's been here with us for a while. Dave, glad to have you in here. I see that Jason's made it in, Bunny's made it in, Rick's here. It's turning in. I see William's in too, and this chat room's turning into something nice. It's nice to see everybody here. Thank you for being in. But contrasting the Koch brothers' activities with those of Las Vegas gambling tycoon Sheldon Adelson, Reed pronounced that the man in charge of the Las Vegas Sands Corporation is not in this for the money. But David Koch is, apparently at the center of a cabal involving big oil and big ballet. If the Adelsons and Kochs are not in it for the money, what about the Reeds? Harry Reid has added over $10 million to his net value over the last 2 decades in Congress. Politics and business have been profitable pairing. The thousands of dollars channeled to his granddaughter, the Los Angeles Times reports on the cozy relationship between Reed and his children, and the sundry Nevada business interests, the senator's lobbying to get his son hired as a city attorney in Henderson, and the thicket of nepotism that Nevada journalist John Ralston refers to as Harry Reid's kryptonite. Now, John Ralston, if you've never heard of the Ralston Report, I encourage you to get with John Ralston's site and check him out. Brilliant guy, and somebody I would very much like to have on the show sometime. But payments to Reed's granddaughters were telling. When Ralston first contacted Reed's office about the payment to his granddaughter, the senator's people described her as a quote-unquote jewelry vendor and would not confirm that she was in fact his granddaughter. If he was going to get tripped up by something as small ball as a measly 5-figure line item on a campaign finance report, Ralston writes, it had to be personal. But personal seems to be Harry Reid's most comfortable mode. His dishonest tirades against the Koch brothers have been described as McCarthyite. But that is in many ways unfair to Tail Gunner Joe. For all his shortcomings, McCarthy was concerned about the presence of Soviet operatives in the State Department, which was an entirely reasonable thing for a senator to be bothered about. Reed's busy denouncing private citizens for having the gall to exercise the rights guaranteed to them by the Constitution, which include the right of engaging in political speech and petitioning the government for redress of grievances in ways that do not meet with the approval of Senator Harry Reid, President Barack Obama, or presidential hopeful Hillary Clinton. There is no legitimate policy issue in question here. Charles and David Koch are simply doing what millions of Americans, including millions of Democrats and progressives, do all the time. They're putting their money in the service of their political priorities. The only reason for this activism to be a subject of vitriolic denunciation is the Senate is simply personally hating the Koch brothers, which Reed possesses in abundance. Hatred for the Kochs is his national pastime. Now, we're at the bottom of the hour. We need to take one final commercial break. We're going to continue with this when we come back. Thank you for being here on K98, and your Wednesday night is about to get electrifying. Stay tuned.
Oh, but ain't that America for you and me? Ain't that America?
They do. As a distinguished gentleman, I need a serious source of news. One that doesn't waste my time when I'm enjoying my tea and crumpets.
White powdered! White powdered!
One that catches the most important stories of the day.
The poop plane.
Was it jet poop?
Real serious nonsense. Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, now on K98 Talk.
I'm gonna just move in another direction towards the classy.
We'll be classy and not say dildo.
They're completely different from shows that aren't.
If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
The feeling most people get when they hear Barack Obama's speech, I felt this thrill going up my leg. I mean, I don't have that too often.
Steady.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. Ricky Robinson, host of America Off the Rails, will tackle the important issues facing America today as he tries to keep America from coming off the track. Get ready to hear the truth every Monday through Friday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, and on Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern and 11 Central here on K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network.
Welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Ain't that America for you and me? Ain't that America? Something to see, baby. Ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
Welcome back. I'm glad to have you here. The chat room's picking up. That's good to see. I know why it's picking up, but that's okay. I'll take it. It's good traffic, and I'm glad to see everybody in there. Before we went to commercial break, we were talking about how Harry Reid's national pastime is hating the Koch brothers. In the wake of the decision in the Citizens United case, which held that the federal government may not fine or imprison private citizens for showing a film critical of a political figure during a window of time deemed inappropriate by other political figures, Reid and the Democrats became agitated by their fear that the main currents of political discourse in these United States were moving outside of such Democrat-dominated institutions like newspapers and network news programs, as well as outside of federally regulated enterprise, such as political parties and political campaigns conducted under the watchful eye of the FEC, the Federal Election Commission. That also includes internet radio, bitches. You can't stop us either. The Democrats have for a generation been able to fight the vast majority of national campaigns on friendly ground of their own choosing, with the arbiters of political conversation being the editors of the New York Times and employees of the regulatory agencies. The Kochs and others like them for decades have been active at the ideas end of the political process, but once they started to take an interest in actual election outcomes, that's when the hysteria set in on the Democrat side of the aisle. With the assistance of such feckless co-conspirators as Senator John McCain, the left set out attempting to put practically all private political activism under federal regulation. And this is something that Democrats love to do. If they can't control something, they want to regulate it so they can. If they can't regulate it, then they want to tax it. And they want to tax it into non-existence if they don't like it. And if they do like it, they want to tax it moderately to keep it in existence, to keep money coming in. Their hypocrisy knows no bounds. Their greatest obstacle has been the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court has reminded them repeatedly about the First Amendment. Stymied by jurisprudence, holding that the First Amendment says what it means and means what it says, and by the failure of their dreams of reviving the fairness doctrine to crush talk radio and Fox News, Senate Democrats, with the support of Harry Reid, have made the horrifying decision to introduce a constitutional amendment effectively repealing the first item on the Bill of Rights, a so-called amendment to reform campaign finance that would put not only nonprofit activist groups under the federal thumb, but also potentially news organizations as well. What defines a news organization? Well, I guess you got to read the bill to find out. Because the Democrats' amendment would allow in-kind donations in the form of political communications to be regulated like campaign monetary donations. And because U.S. law does not make distinctions between media companies and other kinds of companies, the amendment would empower Congress to shut down newspapers and television networks for political reasons. You heard that right. That's what they're proposing to do. The Supreme Court has consistently affirmed that the First Amendment does not allow Democrats to do what they propose to do vis-a-vis regulating political speech. But if it takes an act of metaphorical violence against the Bill of Rights to get that done, Senator Reid has already shown himself to be reasonably comfortable with acts of violence. Which is to say, Harry Reid proposes to punch James Madison in the face like he wants to date his daughter. And why? Because the little people need a fair shot at helping to subsidize the tips for Harry Reid's doorman at the Ritz-Carlton? Because casino magnates and hedge funders are preferable to oil magnates and private equity guys? No. The answer's simple. It's because Harry Reid says so. And until Harry Reid retires, that's the only damn answer you're going to get from Harry Reid. Now, Josh Earnest at the White House made an assertion that Yemen remains a model for counterterrorism. This is the word astounding is what ABC News' John Carl said in reaction to Ernest's statement. In fact, Carl was so astounded that he asked Josh Earnest to clarify. And unbelievably, the White House press secretary dutifully responded. What the United States will do and has done is work to try to support the central government, build up the capacity of local fighters, and use our own technological and military capabilities to apply pressure on the extremists there. There are a few programs with this strategy. Now, before we get into these programs, Jesus Christ, can you believe this? The White House is still trying to call Yemen a success story. The damn government has been run out by the rebels. The president is in another country. And the rebels are destroying anything that resembles democracy in Yemen. And these jackasses in D.C. are still standing around acting like they've done something special for the world. Now, first, Yemen's central government no longer exists. Second, the local fighters are divided between the Houthi rebels, Al-Qaeda, and regional separatists. Third, with the CIA and Pentagon having evacuated Yemen, ground-level U.S. military capabilities are almost non-existent unless we go in with a full-force invasion. It doesn't take an idiot to see this, but apparently it takes idiots to not understand it in D.C. So, moreover, Yemen is now a regional war zone. The Yemen mess is sparking a full-fledged regional war. A coalition of Sunni governments is now pursuing Operation Storm of Resolve, a title perhaps designed to repudiate President Obama's steady resolve strategy to restore Yemen's deposed president, Mansour Hadi. Make no mistake, a movement of regional actors to check the Iranian-supported Houthi rebels seems positive, but there's a problem. Beyond intelligence and logistics support, America isn't directly involved, and that means the U.S. will have little influence over what the Sunni alliance actually does in Yemen. That leads to another problem, because while U.S. has interest in Yemen that center on restraining Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, and now ISIS, the Sunni governments are fixated on Iran. Now, they're terrified by Iran's growing influence. These Sunni governments are rolling the dice. In turn, with Iran promising to counter the Sunni military operations, the risk of wider military conflagration in the region is significant. America's absence makes it far more likely that the Sunni monarchies will restore de facto alliances with the Salafi jihadist groups and pursue policies that exacerbate the socio-political conditions that have helped Yemen become a breeding ground for terrorism. Now listen, it's a sad truth, but we're losing the war against radical Islam. This growing chaos underlines the truth of the failed Obama policy in the Middle East. The truth is that our policy success isn't measured solely by what actors do, but also by what they don't do. Having essentially ceded Iraq to Iran in pursuit of his nuclear deal and ignored allies' concerns about that deal, President Obama has greatly weakened his regional influence, and U.S. allies are detaching their policies from American interests. Now, I've talked about this before, but with the nuclear arms race in the Middle East looming, the consequences of this detachment are potentially catastrophic. Yet, led by foreign policy luminaries like Susan Rice, Ben Rhodes, and Valerie Jarrett, Obama is confident that his detachment is good strategy. Correspondingly, earnest detachments from reality and his comments that border on fantasy yesterday weren't a symptom of political spin, but rather a signifier of immense, albeit genuine, delusion. The White House genuinely believes that Middle Eastern stability is best served by American hesitation. Reality, people, begs to differ. And from the president on down, they are in resolute denial about radical Islam. The military effort against the Islamic State hinges on a successful threefold approach involving intelligence, homeland security, and diplomacy. Unfortunately, the Obama administration does not have much past history in these areas to warrant confidence, nor do they seem to have much of an interest in these areas that would warrant any kind of warm, fuzzy feeling that you know you're protected and safe. The Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, just announced that the U.S. has underestimated the Islamic State. Clapper was probably correct, albeit unwise, in apprising the world of U.S. incompetence in this matter. But he left out his apology, out of his apologia, any mention of why the U.S. has continuously downplayed the dangers of radical Islam. The answer is largely found among the Obama team, of which Clapper is a key part. And, we know why he's a key part, because he's a yes man. They once assured us that Muammar Gaddafi would survive in Libya. Not only did he not survive as a leader, he didn't survive, period. The present director of the CIA, John Brennan, called the idea of a caliphate absurd. He has given us all sorts of strained, politically correct takes on jihad. He warned us when he took office in 2013 that the Obama administration would focus on extremists rather than radical Islamists. That naivete might explain why days after the foiled attempt by the so-called underwear bomber, Umar Farouk Abdulmutallab, Brennan seemed to have almost no detailed knowledge of the plot and suggested that there had been no breakdown in either intelligence or airport security. You want to talk about detached? What the Obama administration needs to detach are their heads from the insides of their asses. And they need to start doing the job that they were elected to do. Not everybody's happy that they were elected to do it, but damn it, Joe, do the job. Okay? Our two intelligence czars in their earlier political manifestations were once staunch defenders of the Bush-Cheney anti-terrorism protocols when it was helpful career-wise to be so. Then they became public critics when it was more helpful to denounce them and join the Obama team. Once upon a time, Clapper defended one of the many reasons for going into Iraq by stating that Iraq had transferred its WMDs to Syria. A believable, if not politically correct, assertion that Clapper has never since repeated. Okay? Never since repeated. Brennan, in his own earlier Bush incarnation, was a strong advocate of the Bush-Cheney anti-terrorism protocols. This included enhanced interrogations, which he has subsequently derided as counterproductive. If our intelligence grandees have been naive about the dangers of radical Islam, have we at least enjoyed competent Homeland Security directors? Again, there is reason to worry. Former Director Janet from Another Planet Napolitano once urged that we move away from using the word terrorism and the supposedly accompanying politics of fear to prefer instead man-caused disasters. Are you freaking kidding me? That gullibility reflected an ongoing administration campaign of euphemisms among copycat bureaucrats, from workplace violence to overseas contingency operations. We see it again, this administration's fashionable collective denial that ISIS has anything to do with Islam, like it's a bunch of Mormons running around in the desert doing this. As if foreign tourists visited Mecca as freely as they do the Vatican. As if Muslim apostates picked and chose their new religions as easily and safely as do Protestants, as if beheadings and stonings were as frequent in Paris and Houston as they are in Riyadh and Tehran, as if Bibles were brought into Iran and Saudi Arabia as freely as Qurans are brought into America and Israel, as if churches sprouted up in Turkey, Iran, and Gaza as do mosques in Britain and Michigan. Michigan? Really? And as if women and gays were as equal in the Middle East as they are in the West. Islam is not just different from the West, but different in a manner that means its own extreme versions manifest themselves in predictable ways. To deflect criticism about an increasingly open southern border, Napolitano suggested falsely that the 9/11 attackers had come through Canada to the United States. She lied on purpose to fit their agenda. She also suggested in an official assessment that the real threat of terrorism in this country came from supposed right-wing groups, among them veterans and critics of Obama, and not radical Islamists. People, these jackasses are still running our country. This shit has to end. Now I'm getting ready to wrap up tonight. I wanted to take a minute to welcome Sam and Jason, Daniel, Clay, and Angie to the K98Talk.com family. So glad to have you all here. You guys are getting ready to hear the split half of the Politainment group. Bunny, and then, according to me, will be immediately following my program. And I just want my friends out there to know that I am so happy that they are here with us at K98. Also want to remind everybody that tomorrow night I will be co-hosting with Rowdy Rick, the man with the plan at K98, as we will be having he is either now nationally syndicated or will be very soon nationally syndicated Rod Eccles on the program as our special guest. So you want to tune in, and you don't want to miss out on Rod Eccles. You need to look him up. He is a fantastic guy to listen to. His takes on conservatism are genuine and heartfelt, and I know he's going to put on a great show for us tomorrow night. So tune into that. Be watching on Twitter for the tweets on the times, and you're in the chat room now. Everybody knows where to find Bunny. You're going to find us in the same place tomorrow night. So guys, as I get ready to sign off, I want to say thank you for tuning in. Appreciate everybody in the chat room, and gear it up and get ready, because Unapologetically Bunny is next, and she will be followed by According to Me with Jason DeWilkins. Knock 'em dead, guys. We're happy to have you on board. Thank you all, and I will see you next Wednesday.
Oh, but ain't that America for you and me? Ain't that America? Something to see, baby. Ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan.
Okay, Grouch, still with me?
This is the most transparent administration.
Okay, I'm waiting to see.
Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
I'm not sure what the plan is on that, actually. I'm not sure if I can hear
The feeling most people get when they hear Barack Obama's speech. I felt this thrill going up my leg. I mean, I don't have that too often.
Steady.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. Ricky Robinson, host of America Off the Rails, will tackle the important issues facing America today as he tries to keep America from coming off the track. Get ready to hear the truth every Monday through Friday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, and on Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern and 11 Central here on K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network.
And walk away from it. And I'm getting followed by.
Welcome to the face of the new democracy.
Okay, Sam, I just want to test it. You can hear that, right?
I can. No, that's one of the bumpers or whatever.
That's your promo. It took me forever to find it. I planned on playing it a lot earlier, but I'm going to at least throw it in there since you're about to go on.
So let me be clear. You didn't build that.
Everything he's done is clean as a whistle. He's never not only broken any law, he's never done anything wrong. He's the perfect father, the perfect husband, the perfect American.
Hey, y'all. This is Sam Janney, or the Bunny, as many of you know me by. Your friendly neighborhood bad girl of conservatism. Here to talk to you about my show. I'll talk about conservative issues, my top 10 douchebags of the week, and have some pretty badass conservative guests on the show. All that, plus me, your resident bunny with a chainsaw.
Wednesday nights will never be the same. It's Unapologetically Bunny. Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on K98 Talk.
A show that will change internet radio as you know it.
Okay, so let's talk about the story, which I think is hilarious. I'm just going to refer to it as the poop plane because, like, what else are you going to call it? But there was this plane, okay? It took off. It's the British Airways. They were going to Dubai. I have a hard time pronouncing that one.
It was British
anyway,
Airways? It wasn't Jet.
It
wasn't Jet Poo?
It wasn't.
Couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
I like it. This story, if we've ever had a story that is up our alley, it's this one. It's bathroom humor up from front to back of the airplane, apparently. They had to turn around to go back to Heathrow because they said the smelly poo in the toilet became unbearable for passengers, and it was so bad. They decided it's so bad that they had to turn around and go back rather than continue their flight. They decided that there wasn't enough Febreze, there wasn't enough anything to handle this.
Maybe they should see a doctor. Is there a GoFundMe for this guy?
It must be a woman because a woman's going to be mortified and embarrassed. If this is a guy, you know that he's like out there on Twitter and everything else saying, dude, I took down an airplane with how bad that I laid it down.
There was an old woman who flew on jet poo. She ate so many burritos she didn't know what to do.
So we turned the plane around because they made a big stink. We've just made it into a haiku at the end, but there had to be something.
Real Serious Nonsense. Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, now on K98 Talk.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com. K98talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98talk.com.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We're gonna spread happiness. We're gonna spread freedom. Obama's gonna change it. Obama's gonna lead 'em.
So let me be clear. You didn't build that.
Everything he's done is clean as a whistle. He's never not only broken any law, he's never done anything wrong. He's the perfect father, the perfect husband, the perfect American.
Hey, y'all. This is Sam Janney.
Hey, we're here. Welcome to Unapologetically Bunny. This is your host, Sam Janney, and thank you for being with us live tonight. You know, when you change things around and you make things a little nuts, you have a new producer. I'm going to blame the producer again. You know, it's always good for me because I always blame the producer when things go wrong. Lucky Rick. You get to be blamed for everything that screws up on the show. But welcome. We are here on K98 Talk. You are with the bunny. I know, the bunny. And I was off last week, guys. I missed all of you. But thank you for being with me tonight on this April Fool's Day. So glad you didn't think I was kidding with you. You know, it's really hard to come back from a break and say, no, really, I'm changing days. Yeah, it's April Fool's, but I'm totally serious. I'm not screwing with you. And people who know me know I screw with you anyway, so it was really hard to convince everybody that I was indeed changing stations and days, but here I am. And thanks so much to the good people at K98, especially Rick, who've been babysitting us, and Grouch. And we are really excited to be a part of this family. And we are here tonight to talk about all kinds of good things. Because, it wouldn't be my show if we weren't talking about good things, right? Absolutely. And, I got to talk about how we change stations. And I apologize. We're kind of like radio gypsies or something, and especially our politainment folks. But, when you're a radio gypsy, it means that you're not doing this for a living and that your life gets in the way of doing the stuff you really want to do, which is kind of like this whole radio gig. So you got to kind of bounce around and make sure it works with your life. Much like you guys who spend time with us on a Wednesday night or a Monday night or whatever night you decide to come by, you're giving us your time, and we're trying to make time for you that works for us. So thank you for messing around and not holding me accountable for changing my nights, and thank you for following me wherever I go. I can't thank you enough for being here with me. My guest tonight, guys, this is an interesting thing we're doing tonight. Typically I try really hard not to bring any Twitter drama into my show, because if you're not on Twitter, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about and you really don't care. But, this kind of goes back to when I left, I exited Twitter. It was because of a certain individual who I will not be giving any credit to tonight. But I left. And when I left, it was because I was being stalked and harassed by a certain individual, and he had a co-host on his show named Watson Prunier. And Watson has agreed to come on the show tonight. To give Watson some credit, he did walk away from all that nonsense that was going on with the person who was stalking and harassing me, and apologized and did what he could to make it right with me, which I really thought said a lot about him as a person. And so what I'm trying to do tonight is show you all that people can be adults, that we can talk to each other, that we can find a peace, find a dialogue, and get back to business as conservatives. And I know Watson and I have disagreements on things. I know he's much more of a social con than I am. And so it's really a healthy discussion to have between two conservatives, especially when we're looking at 2016 and the importance of us getting along and working together to make things better in this country. And I realize there are lots of things that are wrong beyond just getting along. I know we have lots of issues within party. We have establishment guys. We have progressives in our party. It's not just the Democrats that have the progressives. The damn conservatives have them too. So there's bigger problems to look at. But if we start repairing the smaller problems, especially if we have infighting and bullshit and drama, let's get rid of it. Let's get over it and move on and start working together. And so I invited Watson to come on tonight to chat with me a little bit about how things have gone on, what's changing. And I know he's also a great radio host, and I want you to find him and listen to him because I think he really deserves that. It took a lot of courage for him to do what he did. It's really hard to say you're sorry. It's also even harder to admit you were wrong. And so I want to give him that respect, and we're going to do that tonight on the show. But before we get there, I have to rant. Now, it wouldn't be a bunny show if I wasn't ranting about something, and I got to rant about this damn Indiana law. Now, don't get me wrong. It's been back and forth in my head for about a week now about whether or not I support the legislation. At first, I was just like, damn it, just either make the cake or, I said cake. I promised I wouldn't say cake. Damn. Make the baklava or don't make the baklava, but don't say, hey, I don't support your gay marriage. So, I'm just not going to actually do your cake. I'm just going to ignore you. Don't do that. Just say, you know what? I can't actually make your baklava because I don't have time right now. My bad. Or find a reason. But then I thought more about it. I thought more about the legislation and why they put it in place. It's because what's happening at moms and pops, bakeries, photographers, florists, pizza shops now. What's happening? People go in, they say, we want your service. They say, what kind of service? They say, well, let's say it's a Muslim wedding. Let's go outside of the box here. And someone doesn't want to support a Muslim wedding, and they're getting sued. A gay wedding, they're getting sued because they're saying it's discrimination. So this has been making me crazy because I am a same-sex marriage supporter. As long as it's two consenting adults, I really don't care. It's none of my damn business. So that's that part of it for me. But I'm also a person who believes in religious freedom. So how do we do both, right? How do we look at, I support this group wanting to get married, but I also support this group who don't want to be a part of that ceremony. How do we work that in? Well, as you know, the left, of course, is going to throw a hissy fit, and they're going to make sure that they protest and make it as dramatic and sparkly, unicorny as they can. And they go in and they shake their fist and they're boycotting a whole damn state, which makes a whole lot of sense, but whatever. Because you know there's no gay business owners there. So that's what they do. They go in, they have a dialogue to say, oh, here's this law, and this law says gay people are bad. It's discrimination against gay people. And it's Christians hating on gays. So we're going to make this all about the gay agenda. Which irritates the shit out of me because a lot of gay people don't care about the gay agenda. They want to be left alone, do their own thing, live in freedom. They don't want to mess with the other part of it, right? They don't really want to be out there shutting down pizzerias. They want to just live together and do their life in the way they want to do it. And the damn activists get involved and it becomes a mess. So how do we do it? How do we look at both sides and say, you know what, both are okay? Well, my whole point is it's about the individual, being an adult, minding your own business. You know, and I've said many times now, let the market decide. And that, of course, has not been all that popular with the left because, you know, the market's evil. The market allowed Jim Crow. I mean, it's ridiculous the things they say. And of course, yeah, they're comparing the whole gay issue, which really doesn't exist in the law, to blacks. So now we're not only homophobes, but we're racist. But we're always racist with the left, right? But in the end, if we respect the individual, if we look at the individual and we don't think about what is not our business and we act like adults, guess what? Everybody's happy. I am a baker and I bake balaclavas. I'm sorry, I'm not saying cake. I said cake. Damn it. I make pie and I make pie for everybody. But I don't want to make you a pie, so I just tell you I'm too busy. Or if I say, you know what? I don't support what you're using the pie for, so I don't want to be a part of it. Okay, I'm the person who wants the pie. Oh, okay, well, screw you then. I'm going next door and I'm going to put you out of business that way. I'm not going to go tell the government and say, oh, please, you know, so I'm going to sue these assholes. No. I'm going to go out into the businesses and I'm going to find someone else to make me a pie. And I'm going to tell everybody I know that you refuse to make me a pie. That is how the market works. You talk to anybody who has ever owned a business or anybody who has ever worked in retail, they will tell you that it's really the customer you don't want to piss off. Government's a pain in the ass. It really is. But at the end of the day, one angry customer tells 10 customers. Go that route. Don't go to the government. Don't sue because that's really ridiculous. We have become so sue happy that we need laws to protect the Constitution. And that was my big issue with the whole piece of it in the beginning, was why isn't the First Amendment enough at this point in America for us to protect our religious freedom? Why do we need a law on top of it saying, yeah, the first, that is how it works, religious freedom. You can't sue these people over their religion. Why do we need another law on top of that? I'm not a big fan of more laws because of a law. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. So maybe get back to the Constitution. I know, crazy talk, Constitution. But you know what? If we could get back to that simple piece of paper, y'all, and pay attention to the law of the land and not look at the government trying to run things for us even more. This is what kills me. We need the government to protect us from the government. And is that not the biggest crock of horse shit you ever heard? And people are saying this is what we should do. They are boycotting industry in Indiana. Apple who has factories in countries that kill homosexuals. Hello. Hi, Indiana. You guys are supporting a law that protects religious freedom. Shame on you. You know, give me a break. There's a coach in the NCAA from UConn who's not going to go because he's boycotting Indiana. You know how many coaches and other players would love to be in his shoes, and that asshole is not going because he has a beef with a law? Fuck him. I'm sorry, but that makes me crazy. I've been watching that tournament. I know how hard it is to get in that tournament. I know how much it means to those young men and those young women and their families and all of them. And that jackass is not going because of a damn law that has nothing to do with him and means nothing that he says it means. What a jackass. And really, that's what it boils down to, is a bunch of jackasses acting like jackasses. You know, it's like, what is that pizzeria? Memories Pizza or whatever, Memories Place or whatever that is. They're a place that got set up by a reporter who went in and asked them, you know, would you cater a gay wedding? And they said no, they wouldn't. Now, it wasn't that someone said, I'm having a wedding, please come cater it. It was, would you cater a wedding? And they said no. Well, it could be that they don't cater anything because they're a pizzeria, dumbass. Why would they be catering a damn wedding? But even if they don't because of their religious beliefs, do we have the right to send them death threats and shut them down? They have suspended working hours. They're not open right now because they are being attacked by the victim mafia is what I heard. The mob. The mob is after them because they will not cater a gay wedding. Ironically, you know, they are the ones calling Christians bigots. They are the ones saying Christians are haters. Who are the haters? Who is shutting down businesses? Who is boycotting an entire state? Who are the real bigots, guys? They are the real bigots. And then you know what? If you point that out to them, oh my God, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, anyway, I had to rant about that. It has been making me nuts. Yeah, Memories Pizza. They're the ones. Thank you. Memories Pizza. They're suspended hours. Now, there are people who have set up a GoFundMe to help keep them in business, and that is how the market works. What do you know? People support what they're doing. They go out to help them. People don't like what they're doing. They don't go there. Pretty basic, right? Right. Okay, well, you know what? I've been ranting a little bit. I'm going to take a short break. We're going to see how that works at the break. And when I come back, I have this week's Top 10 Douchebags, so stay put.
Hey everybody, this is Jason, host of According to Me. I'd like to invite you to check out my show. It's a 2-hour show that lasts 60 minutes in... listen, I hate to interrupt, but one thing I can do is read off a script. Just say, let me be clear a lot. It works. President Obama, I can handle this. It's a radio promo. I'm not green. I've done this before. Did someone say green? Now, Al Gore is here. Listen, I'm just trying to record a radio promo. Do you mind? Now, do you say good things about me on the show? No, not at all. But if it makes you feel any better, I rip on Republicans just as much. The AM radio frequencies give off very high levels of radiation. Look, my show is on the internet, which you invented. Can I just do my promo? I got a pen. I can veto that, you know. I know you got a pen. It's not a law. It's a radio promo. Listen, just listen to my show. Barack Obama and Al Gore hate it, so you're going to love it. Here's an executive order. Don't listen to his show. He doesn't like me. He's racist. And he doesn't recycle either. That's it. I'm done. It's According to Me, Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on K98 Talk.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program America Off the Rail. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
Bunny. I am your host, the Bunny, ever compassionate and sweet and kind. And I am here on K98 Talk, and we have been talking about Indiana. Oh, Indiana, what fun you are to talk about. You know, what kills you is it's not just Indiana. The law is in, 19 other states, and Bill Clinton passed a federal version of it in 1993 that Chuck Schumer wrote. But hey, you know, it's all about how Republicans hate the gays, so Speaking of that, let's talk about douchebags. If you are new to this show, and if you're not, thank you. But if you are, the top 10 douchebags of the week, we do that every week. And it comes from the good people in social media. That means you. You guys nominate for me top 10 every week. I put them on the show. I actually will write down almost word for word what you send me to read off during the show for the top 10 douchebags. So the list really belongs to all of us. Happy day. Okay, so let's get started. At number 10 is the Department of Justice. For shocker, not pressing charges against Lois Lerner. And per her piece of shit attorney, Chad Pergram, he whined about his client's constitutional rights and accused the House of playing politics. Because, it's not playing politics for the IRS to target conservative groups at all. Wow. Unbelievable. Okay, nobody's shocked they didn't press charges against her, right? Right. Because, hello, they're really going to prosecute her when they have to admit they were doing something wrong. But that's probably why Hillary's laughing in the face of Gowdy saying, hey, you know what? I wiped all those emails away. What you going to do about it? Clearly, we're not going to do jack shit about it. And at number 10 is the Department of Justice. At number 9 is Sally Cohn. Poor old Sally Cohn. You guys love to nominate her for this list. I think this is like 5 weeks in a row she's made the list. Sally Cohn for being Sally Cohn. And following Sally is no surprise that she is on Twitter having a fit over the RFRA, a.k.a. the law that hates gays. Okay, Sally, I can't believe she hasn't found a way to tie the whole law in Indiana to Islamophobia, because that's like her total thing right now, is blaming everything on Islamophobia. We have a deficit, Islamophobia. That's what her thing is. So I'm really surprised she hasn't somehow tied this into being something to do with Islam, because, that's how she is. But of course, Sally is on top of the RFRA, calling it all kinds of things. We're prosecuting and persecuting the gays and how they want to get married, blah, blah, blah. Really, nobody cares. The only people who care really are you guys. And Sally, for a multitude of reasons, you are a douchebag, but you're at number 9 this week. At number 8 is Harry Reid. Harry hasn't made the list in a while, so it was good to see you guys nominate him. Harry Reid admitted he lied about Romney. Did you guys see this? He admitted he lied about Romney not paying his taxes. And he's not sorry he lied. And no one is holding him accountable but Megyn Kelly, who really kicked his ass in her show last night. To think his lie was used to attack Romney could have actually cost him voters, and there are no consequences for that. It says a multitude about not only how ugly he is, but how ugly our system has become and how gross politics has become. Because Harry basically said, oh, yeah, I lied about Romney. I'm retiring. It's no wonder someone beat the shit out of him, because he obviously deserves it for something. I'm hoping that's karma that kicked him in the head and not some, eclipse machine or whatever, ellipse or whatever the hell it is. I'm hoping it was actually karma that kicked him really hard, because he clearly deserves it. To lie, flat out lie. And we know they lie. So it's like, okay, yeah, shocking. But to say he's not sorry, even though he could have cost Romney the election, says a lot about what a douchebag he is. And he is a douchebag at number 8. At number 7 is Michelle Obama. For starting, she loves Twitter, guys. She started a hashtag called Black Girls Rock. Now, look, I don't disagree with that Black girls rock. Fine, they rock. But why segregate, Flotus? Why not just say all girls rock, or just girls rock? Why denote a color? I'll tell you why, because she's a racist, and she really is. It's all about what can she promote to divide by skin color. All black girls rock. Well, how about all girls rock, or women rock? Or how about people rock? Or just shut up and get off Twitter and do your job. Oh, did you guys see that? Speaking of her doing her job, she went to Cambodia or something, and it was $240 some odd thousand to spend 33 minutes actually doing something for her job. That is 5 times the average household income in America. 5 times, guys. And she spent that in a half an hour of work. Yeah. And she's a douchebag. And number 7. At number 6, social justice warriors trying to take on the gun people. Did you guys see this? They started a tag on Twitter called NAR Horse. As conservatives often do, we destroyed their hashtag, made fools of them, laughed our asses off, and then laughed some more. They think they can dictate what we think. They've been trying to do it to the gamers. They tried to do it with comic books. I really suggest they not mess with gun people. First and foremost, we're pretty damn mean. And second, we are armed. So why would you ever cross somebody who could probably pop you if you mess with them? But apparently they thought that would make some kind of statement calling gun people whores. You know, like we're all going to melt and cry because they called us a name. Lots of us, including yours truly, got involved on the tag and mocked them endlessly and, of course, took the tag over. So you social justice warriors, well, you've been a douchebag for the gamers, you've been a douchebag for the comics, and now you're a douchebag for the gunners at number 6. Number 5 is Hillary Clinton. Surprise! We here at Politainment, with the help of Bill O'Keefe, broke this weeks ago. But guess what? It's been proven Hillary had more than one device. God, that sounds really gross, but I'm not talking about that kind of device. I'm talking about phones, people. She had more than one. As if any of us believed her dumbass anyway, and it turns out they might be able to recover those emails she so smugly said she deleted. Lefties, if she is really your best bet for 2016, you are in trouble, because we know she's a douchebag at number 5. Number 4, California. Yes, the entire state. Congratulations, you're a douchebag. California for being a bastion of liberal ridiculousness. And Jerry Brown for actually putting a mandate around water usage. Wow, guys, California is really in trouble. And, you know, I wouldn't mock the state so much if they weren't such a pain in the ass about their policies and what they allow and what they've done to their state to create these kind of problems. He's mandated water usage. Hello, Venezuela, we're looking at you. This is socialism. This is what happens with socialism. And California is total beacon of that socialist idea. And Jerry Brown is like, we're just going to limit how much water you use. We're going to put a mandate around it and be done with it. Yay. So California and Jerry Brown, you guys are douchebags at number 4. Number 3, idiots declaring the RFRA somehow only protects Christianity and will be used to set gays on fire or something. Yeah, because, you know, it's really become this dramatic war or fight about how we're going to discriminate against the gays with the law. And I've been talking about it forever and I'm tired of it. But I'll tell you what, these people are real and they are real douchebags at number 3. Number 2 is Dr. Leah Therese. Have you guys heard of Dr. Leah Therese? She's an OBGYN. I know, and she's a doctor. She compared a miscarriage to manslaughter on Twitter. She said basically if abortion is murder, then miscarriage is manslaughter. And then she was shocked that people were upset with her for saying that. And of course, you know, people who are all about pro-abortion, they were all over and they were all up in her face and all up in your face if you're defending her and on her case. And it's unbelievable to me how gross and ugly people really are. If you want to see the bottom of the barrel of the ugliest of the ugly, do me a favor and talk to a pro-abort because they are disgusting. And Dr. Leah Therese, she is definitely number 1 on that list, and she's a douchebag at number 2. Number 1 is Obama because, well, he's Obama. Oh, yeah, and that whole Iran thing where they refused to remove the whole "we will fucking destroy Israel" piece. Yeah, he sucks for that, too. But what's been the most interesting this week is how little we've heard about him with Hillary's email and the Indiana law. Always watch what the other hand is doing. Now, you know, I can tell, and if Watson, if you're listening, I can see you trying to call in. I'm having some technical issues. We're going to go to break, and I'm going to try and bring him in. Stay put. When we come back, I'm going to talk to Watson Prunier. You're on Unapologetically Bunny. I'll be right back.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Vice President, members of Congress, my fellow Americans. Free stuff. Free stuff. We've created 12 million jobs in the last 12 days. Free stuff and free college. Free stuff, equal pay for women, Free stuff. I'm going to have Joe Biden do things. And free stuff. We've got crumbling roads and bridges I still haven't fixed yet. Let's see. More free stuff. Climate change. Free stuff. Let's work together. Because that's what Americans want us to do. In the interest of bipartisanship, I'll veto everything Congress proposes. More taxes for more free stuff. And I'll end with this. Free stuff. God bless you. And may God bless this great country with love. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Watson, and he's tried to call twice. I'm having technical issues. I've asked the producer. I can't blame him for this. It must be on my end. We're going to try and call him in. In the meantime, you're stuck with me till we get a hold of him. And I know you just can't stand to listen to me talk anymore, but too bad. You're on Unapologetically Bunny with the Bunny. And what's really interesting is I always worry about this when I book a guest and I prepare for the first half hour. I think, what the heck happens if I can't get my guest in? And I used to tease Clay when he would produce me that I'd bring him in. I might bring Rick on if we can't get Watson in. I'm hoping we can get him on because I really do want to talk to Watson about everything that's happened on Twitter with I guess they call it a Twitter war. But, it takes a lot to do what Watson did and admit it was wrong and come out and say he was sorry to a lot of people. And to give him some benefit of the doubt, it's really hard on Twitter to know when someone is legit. Oh, we're calling him. I hope he doesn't think we're pranking him. One time I pranked someone, she hung up on me. I have a hat. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Is this Watson?
Hello? Yes, this
Hello?
is he.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Perfect.
Yay! I'm sorry you couldn't get through. New technology night for Sam, and Sam blew up her Skype. So, what are you going to do? But we have a producer who knows what the heck he's doing, so thank God. And I'm glad you're here. How are you, my friend?
I am doing really well. I'm just excited to be on. She's been cracking me up as I've been hearing the show.
Well, it's an interesting show. I would apologize, but I'm just really not sorry. But I'm really glad you agreed to come on, and I'm so grateful to you for reaching out and just being a human being, which is so rare when you deal with anybody on Twitter or in social media. And I know I say we should be using it and really working with it, but it takes away part of that human being, doesn't it? Yes, and you came out as a very human person and said, I want to say sorry and let's talk about it. So thank you for doing that. And now let's talk about it. Are you cool with that?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm good. One of the things I wanted to say, so you got my email and I want everyone to hear, Bunny, I need you to forgive me for following a false narrative and attacking you, believing the lies of a misguided individual.
But, here's the thing, and this is when I'm not someone, believe it or not, I come across as real hard ass. But at the end of the day, I'm not someone who's going to hold a grudge. I'm not somebody who stays angry very long. I get mad quick, but it goes away. And that's one of those things with I think it's the German in me. I don't know. But I don't stay angry. So I forgave you the moment you said you were sorry. Because in my mind, it's really easy to get in that and fall into line with that kind of thinking and with those kind of people. Because even though there is a false narrative, there's a very charming side to that situation. It's really hard not to.
Yeah.
And there's things you want to believe. And trust me, I have been there myself. So for me, it's done. We're good.
But see, here's the thing that just annoys me is because of the fact that, so I'm not the only person. There are many other out there who are following false narratives. I never listened to your show before because of the fact that I took the word of one individual. And I'm sitting here and I'm cracking up because I was like, wow, that's hilarious. Wow, that's pretty played. Wow, that's pretty upfront. Wow. I'm listening. Yeah. I was listening to Wayne the other night. I never listened to Wayne because of the fact that I took the word of one individual. And it's really sad because, there's so many voices out there. And here's the one thing that annoyed me the most. here's the thing that annoyed me the most about that situation, is that there was this constant insult about the quality of what you say on your show. There was a constant insult basically saying that you don't have style, all these stupid things, and then even complaining about who you were bringing onto your show. Now, you said something earlier. You said something earlier about the whole idea of we have a First Amendment right, a free speech. Everybody has a right to say whatever they want to whomever they want. And why rob you of your talent, of your skill to promote the truth and and force people to think? Why insult you because of doing that?
Well, and it's okay. It's an interesting thing because I've never understood why this person had a problem with me. It's never been clear to me why the attacking and all of it started. If it's the thing about, well, I'm on the air and you're competition, so I'll destroy you, or I have no idea. And to be honest, I really don't care. I went through the whole being intimidated thing and the comments about me cheating on my husband, and it just got really horrible for me there for a little bit. But at the end of the day, I got to move on. I got to be here. I have a responsibility now. And I think you're at that point with what you do is you figured out you have a responsibility. And that responsibility is to share your message and your voice. And it's not to be worried about some individual trying to take you out or hurt you because you're doing it.
Exactly. And I feel bad because, and I'm glad that the mayor and Tom, that we have a truce, we have a peace, we've wished each other the best, and that's all we want to see is the best. I mean, isn't that what you were saying about conservatives coming together? Isn't this what we need to do when we have half the top 10 that you just listed are constantly trying to take away our freedoms?
Right.
Like, we should be pulling our resources together to put an end to the madness.
And the unfortunate reality is our madness is beginning to equal the left's madness because we are so wrapped up in our own crap that we cannot extend out and work on what we need to be working on. The enemy, and I hate to say that, they really have become an enemy almost, is the other party. And we're beating each other up. I don't get it.
Yep. I don't get it either.
And I respect that how I do my show and how I tweet is not for everybody. Trust me. I used to joke about putting like an R rating on my bio because I am definitely not I'm not soft-spoken and I'm not always polite. And I say words probably that offend people. But I think we need that diversity inside of what we do. If we're all saying and behaving the same way, who's listening?
Exactly. Because we don't want to parrot each other. We don't want to parrot each other. And you have your unique style that you have to bring forward. I'll tell you, it was this was really funny. I was so deceived in this whole process about supposedly us being like the number one program out there, and all you guys were just jealous. You were trying to shut us down. It was.
Well, you know what? I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to believe that. And, I come across as this mean bitch. It's easy to believe Bunny's out to get ya. It's easy to believe that about me because if you get on my bad side, I probably am out to get you eventually. I mean, it's okay. But I'm so glad, though, that that kind of, it's like there was a barrier and we weren't able to get beyond the barrier and go, what the hell is your problem? We were too busy defending ourselves to even talk to each other. And at the core of it was a person who I'll tell you, I think he has talent. I think he could do a lot of things if he would just stop trying to hurt everybody to make himself feel better, if that makes any sense.
Exactly. Oh, that makes complete sense because he spends more time attacking individuals, creating sock accounts to attack individuals. And it's like, you know what? All this energy that you're putting together, you could literally be out there doing something positive. I was on him since day one. I said, stop fighting with them. Stop fighting with them. Just don't respond to them. Just don't respond. Leave them alone. Move on. But he just was like, oh, I'm going to represent the truth, and
that's good. We need him, and that's great. I get it. I do. he needs to represent the truth. I'll tell you right now, I'm getting hit with a follow bomb. I bet you I'll have 25,000 Russians and Indonesians who like me here in about a half hour. and at first it really pissed me off. I'm like, oh my God, I have 50,000 people who are not real. But if that makes him feel better at this point, if he needs to do that, I'm good. I'm done.
Yeah.
If he needs to hate me to feel better about himself, I guess I'll pray for him. And I'm not often overly religious. I'll admit it on my show, but clearly there is something there that I need to pray about, and I will do that for him.
Yeah.
And I'll laugh about him, and I'll delete him. It'll take me a week, but whatever. If he feels better, he feels better,
agree.
right?
Yeah, you know what, and it's funny because there was this. They have the Lego movies, right?
Yeah, I love the Lego movie.
So think of this. I want to see if you can see this in your mind of how I was going to do this. So there was going to be a scene, and I was going to make Lego characters of all of you guys. So there's going to be a Lego character of you. There's going to be a Lego character of Michael. There was going to be a Lego person for Grand Tweets, Tracy, you name it.
Bunny.
And all your hands would be pushing this object that you just couldn't move. And it just wasn't going to go anywhere. And, then my character of you would have been like, why don't this please thing not move?
I love it. But I love it. I need to be a Lego bunny, man. You got to make the Lego bunny happen.
Exactly. So Lego bunny, your whole group. And so you've got Tom and you got the mayor on the ground. And Tom's going to, of course, have his hat. And Tom's gonna have his arm around Lego Charlie's shoulder, and it's like they just won't give up, will they? They just won't give up, will they? And so when you pan back, the picture was a big Q that you guys were trying to knock down. You were trying to knock it off with this
creative.
#1.
And I would have laughed. I gotta be honest with you, I would have laughed.
So funny, but it's so funny with the way things happened in the last 3 weeks. You guys wouldn't have been able to push it off because in the background there would be his Lego item with the dynamite and the switch to blow it up himself because of the fact that he's destroyed his success. I'll see if I can put it together. I think you'll love it.
We need the Lego bunny. Make it happen. And it's interesting because when it all started, gosh, it's been over a year ago, he got clean and he apologized, and I accepted his apology. Like I said, I don't hold a grudge. I have this time. I'm not going to forgive him for all the crap he pulled, but I'm over it. But he did apologize, and I accepted it, and we talked for a while, and he would really get on my case for swearing. And I'll tell you this, I am pretty... No, I'm not. I was intolerant of being told how to talk. And eventually I was done with that. I wanted nothing more to do with it. As far as I knew, it was done. And then it started back up at Christmas. And I probably have had 100,000 Indonesian, Russians, and Iraqis follow me since Christmas. I've had accounts tell me that they're going to go after my family. He has threatened me with a restraining order. He has mentioned my address where I live in a passive-aggressive way. At the end of the day, he's been harder to deal with than the left I've worked with. And I say that not lightly. I'll tell you that. The left, I was excited to see my typical haters when I came back to Twitter. I was like, yay, yes, I'm a racist. Thank you. I'm glad to see you. It's like, please attack me normally. Yes, I'm a horrible bitch. Thank you. I needed that. And for me to come back, it was really hard. I'll be honest with you. I did not want to come back. But at the same time, if I didn't come back, I lose. So I'm back, and you're here, and I'm so excited that you came out to talk to me. I will be honest with you. I've never really listened to his show. People, you got to hear him. He talked about you for half an hour, and I'm like, I really don't care, whatever he needs to do. But I did listen to a piece of it, I guess, last week or something when a friend was trying to tell him, come back. You're more talented than this. And it was unfortunate because I think it was Alan who was on the air with him.
Yeah.
I wish I'd had a chance to hear you and do your show because I haven't had a chance to hear you do the show because like him telling you not to listen to me, I didn't want to listen to you because I didn't want to give him the numbers. Exactly. But now I need to know what is your show about, Watson?
Okay, so basically, kind of what I've done is I came on the scene about September at the height of a lot of the Ferguson stuff.
Sure.
You know, I'm a Caucasianly challenged conservative.
Caucasianly challenged. I'm male challenged. I got you.
You know, so for me, one of the things that I don't like is, you know, that there's this horrible misrepresentation. There are these lies out there. There's a lot of this propaganda. And, you know, there's this false narrative out there that you can't have black conservatives. You can't have black libertarians. You can't have blacks who are not basically on the dole. And I wanted to speak out against that foolishness. I really wanted to speak out against the corruption. I mean, I've been speaking out against the corruption of this administration since day one. I have been all over this president even before he was elected. And I hate the liberal progressive nonsense that basically tells people, you know what, just sit back, take from the people who worked hard for it, and you just enjoy. I think it's wrong. You shouldn't be doing this. I've been delivering papers since I was like 13 years old, and I think I've only had like 1 year where I wasn't working since then. So I understand what it means to contribute. And when I see conservatives who are contributing, when I see America falling apart because we have so many leeches killing us, I've got to speak up about that. And so I'll talk about politics. I'll talk about faith. I'll talk the gambit. And you know what was interesting was I wanted to see where you're going to go with this this freedom of religion thing that's going on here in Indiana. And you know what? You're right. I mean, why do we need to create a law to protect the law we already have? Let's just get out of all this craziness. Stop trying to force people to do things. And here's a simple thing on it too. You know what? If you go into a store and they don't like you because of your color or your sexual preference, you don't need a law to penalize them. You penalize them by taking your money to their competition and giving them the money.
What do you know?
That's how you do it.
Right? Crazy. Let your dollars decide. Don't go to some attorney and say, I want to make them pay. Make them pay by going to their competition who's going to serve you whatever you want because they don't care who you are.
Exactly.
I don't get it.
So, you know, it's just insane. And I had one person, and, you know, she's very liberal, but, you know, she keeps it straight. She could be your alter ego. I'll have to talk to her again. But
the liberal rabbit. Be afraid.
Yeah, the liberal rabbit. I'm going to call her that from now on. But, you know, I asked her, you know, she was getting very mad about, you know, this law that was signed. I said, one, did you read the law? I said, before you get angry about it, did you read the law? She didn't read the law. I said, so let's go this way. You're black. Should a black baker be forced to cook a cake for a KKK member that has a picture of someone who is being hung or burned alive?
Oh, God.
You know?
What a horrible
And so
cake.
they said,
well,
no. They said no. I said, so then why should you do this? So why isn't that same courtesy extended to a Christian or someone else or whatever? Why not, you know, do that? And they're like, well, you bring up a good point, you know. I said,
wait a second. And that's been the reality of that discussion. What I think is really interesting is, you know, I'm Catholic, but I would not call myself overly religious. And so I have these discussions, and what I'm finding from the people who are really irritated with the RFRA is that they hate religion anyway. They have a real problem with God. They have a real problem with Christians. And you say to them, okay, fine. Where in the law does it say that? Well, I know they meant it. No, but where in the law does it say Christians can discriminate against gays? We hate the gays. Where is this? It's not in the law.
Exactly. It's not there. And you know what? One of my friends brought up even a better question. So let's say the NCAA, Disciples of Christ, Gen Con, all these other places decide that they're going to boycott Indiana. They don't want business coming here anymore. They're banning all the flights. Well, guess what, people? There are successful businesses run by homosexuals in Indiana that are going to now lose business because you chose to boycott Indiana.
Well, and
Hello?
they really are hypocrites, especially Apple. Apple making a big deal about it. You look where Apple has factories, they're in the Middle East. And what do they
Thank
do
you.
to homosexuals in the
Thank
Middle
you.
East? They hang them.
Thank you.
They throw them off buildings. Give me a break. Give me a break. It's all about what is convenient for agenda now. How can we
Exactly.
hurt the right? And really, this is not about the right. It was started by a Democrat 22 years ago, but written by a Democrat. I don't know how to make them understand that this is not about them. And it really has become, everything is about the LGBT, everything. But I'm sorry, let me go back, because I had a really interesting message from a gay Republican today. And he said, please make sure you justify that it is the rad left LGBT, because we agree. We think the law needs to be in place because people are idiots. So I have to give a shout out to that, because it was a Republican. He is gay, and he said, please make sure when you say these things that you say it is the rad left. They are, and they really are, because I have lots of gay followers, believe it or not. And I was talking to a lesbian, and she said, these people are crazy. And I'm like, well, they're giving you a bad name. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
When conservative acts crazy, who really needs to be the one to pull them back in? It can't be the left, because they're enjoying it, like dump gas on it, We have to be the ones to pull them back in. They need to be the ones to pull them back in.
Wow.
And I think, that sounds like I'm being, I am being harsh, because I'm tired of it. We need to be adults in this country and finally figure out that our feelings don't matter, and that people don't have to like us, and people don't have to accept us. That's what's called freedom.
And that's where, so I'm going to say something that might be completely unpopular that a lot of people are not going to like, because I'll even go back to even going back to the issue of segregation. That people fought against removing the whites only, whatever, no colored things. And again, it gets back to the fundamentals. If these people don't want your business, take your money elsewhere. Everybody keeps fighting so hard, Sam, for a piece of the pie. And the one thing I've always argued, why are you going for that pie? Why don't you make your own pie? Make them come to have a piece of your pie, rather than you sit here and fight for a minuscule piece of that pie. And that spirit of creating the pie is what's missing. And that's where I think conservatives have a chance to make more pies, and a lot of people will actually start leaving the liberal progressive movement and start moving and paying attention to us, because we're actually providing something that they can enjoy.
That makes so much sense. And you put it in such a way. I like pie, but you put it in a really good. It's a great analogy, because you're right. They're so busy saying we need something that's not ours. Why not create something that's yours? And we've lost that. I mean, we have. And to tell you the truth, it comes from both parties are so busy trying to get elected, they're not really talking to people anymore, and that's a huge part of it. But the left has always been about, you are victims and you need us to take care of you, so you better vote for us. We're not doing a good enough job saying, we believe in you and you're capable. We're too busy being angry and defensive, because we're always getting told how we hate people and that we're racist and that we're homophobic, because we don't feed that mentality of can't. I cannot sit back and talk to someone and say, okay, well, Watson, you're, Caucasianly challenged, so it's not your fault if your life sucks. No, I'm sorry. If your life sucks, you got to work on it. You got to make it better. And I'm not going to be popular talking like that, but that's what we need to be told to do better and be better. And you hit it on the head with the pie, man. And thank you for not saying cake. I'm so damn sick of cake.
Well, it's so funny, because my son has always had this crazy statement. He always says, I like pie. It will be the most awkward times. We're just driving down the highway. I like pie. We're like, okay.
How old is your son?
He is 15 years old, and he just cracks me up.
My son is 7.
But,
yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. As you sit here and you talk about, they're so busy worrying about re-elected that they're not worried about, there's people who put you in office. I mean, look at where we are now. We just had the Republicans take Congress, and what have they done since the beginning of the year? Diddly squat.
Nothing.
They've
done nothing.
We put you in office and you've done nothing. You've just kept the status quo.
They
And
don't
you
want to make
making all
any.
of us
They
look
want to
like
get elected.
fools.
They're scared. They're scared that the moderates are going to go, "Well, you were too conservative, so we're not voting for you." They don't get it. They don't get it. They
You
don't
know,
understand that they need to do sometimes you got to do things that are not popular because they're the right things to
exactly.
do. And that is what
You,
is so, I think that's what's so challenging about being a conservative is we're always the ones saying no. We're always the ones saying it's got to be something different. We're not really the party of yes. We're just not. Oh, give
no.
me. No, earn it. Then that's, in the end, that makes people better and stronger, don't you think?
Exactly. And, you say to you say, you know what? Why don't we fulfill what the president said in 2008? If I don't get my things done, I'm a one-term president. Well, we knew that was a lie because he wasn't going to honor that. And I think any
Would have been nice.
conservative who runs for office and just say, listen, I've got one term to do exactly what you put me in here to do. And I'm going to go out blazing. And if it fails, it fails. But I'm going to let you know, at least I tried everything I told you I was going to do. I came
That's
here.
right.
I represent this city. I represent this state. I represent this country. I need to get these things done, period.
Yep. And if I go out, I'm going to go out swinging. And that's just that's my mentality anyway. I can never be a liberal. I'm far too temperamental. I don't know what the word is. I'm far too demanding, I guess. I don't know. But I can never be the mindset of, oh, it's okay that we suck. I'm just not like that. I can't accept it. I guess I'm judgmental. I don't know.
You can't be a politician because they never let the chainsaw in the building.
Oh, God, if I was everyone's like, Bunny for president, I'm like, can you imagine the State of the Union? Beep, 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 and this America, beep, beep. No, it would never work. And to be honest with you, I'm too honest. I cannot be a politician because I will tell you the truth every time, whether you want to hear it or not. And again, that's I think why either sometimes my tweets and my show is not for everyone, and I'm okay with that. You know, Watson, I need people to know where they find you because I want to make sure that people can hear your message. You're spot on. The pie thing was great. Where do people find you?
Well, they can go and find me on battleforfreedom.com. I'm www.battlefor4freedom.com. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back on the air on Tuesday nights, Monday or Tuesday nights. I'm trying to figure out which one it's going to be, but I'll start putting those announcements out there where people can follow and see when the show is going to be. But that's the best way to follow me. Follow me on the website there. You can see Battle for Freedom on Facebook as well as I'm also on book projects right now that I'm trying to get a second book of a trilogy out by this summer, because of the fact that the last one was released last year. So I'm getting the second book of a trilogy that I finished a couple of years ago, finally out to print and onto Amazon Kindle.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, do me a favor when you get going with your show again, make sure you tag me so I can promote you to my listeners. I know they'll want to listen to you as well, okay?
Yeah. Well, you know what, and I want to do something for you right now too, because I think this is who I've always been, and I don't want to escape that. Heavenly Father, I just want to lift up Bunny to you right now. She gets a lot of attacks. She receives a lot of hatred because of some of the things that she says. And there's one particular individual who is misguided and makes it a mission to go after her and try and trouble her. So I'm just praying for her and her family. I'm praying that you would just put a hedge of protection around her, that you would even quiet the spirit of this troubled individual and to have him move on to pursue other things rather than harassing people. And I just thank you for her willingness to forgive me and her willingness to bring me onto her show, which is truly appreciated and welcomed very much. So bless her and her family. In Jesus' name, amen.
Oh, thank you for that. You know, that is the first time anyone has ever done that on the show. You know, and I usually would tell people, if you make me cry, I'm going to punch you. But I like you way too much to do that, Watson. But thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And again, you know, thank you so much for being a human being and for talking to me like a human being. And I'm really glad we're friends. And I'm so glad you came on the show. It was really good talking to you. I'm going to have to let you go. I got like a minute and a half left. I will see you in the Twitter sphere. You take care, okay?
Take care. God bless.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was so awesome. I swear I'm not going to cry on the show. We're about done here, folks, but before I go, I want to wish you all a happy and blessed Easter this weekend, and thank you for being here tonight with me. I will be back next week live on Wednesday night here on K98Talk.com. Please be here and help us blow up that chat. It was so good to see all of you and be back. I will talk to you next week. Again, happy Easter, and take care. I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.
Rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal. Tout ça m'est bien égal. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Car ma vie, car mes joies, aujourd'hui, ça commence avec toi.
We here at Polititainment love to read. Well, except Poll, but, anyway. Thing is, we're all super busy, and rarely is there a moment where we can just sit down for an hour and get caught up on the book we've been wanting to read. Many of us just don't have the time. But what we do have is a smartphone, a tablet, and a subscription to Audible.com. You see, Audible.com gives us the ability to get caught up on the books we want to read, but it's the audio version that in many instances is narrated by the author. So this way we can hear chapter 2 on the way to work, while cutting the grass, or while in the bathroom. Hey, don't act like you don't do that too. And Audible is part of Amazon, so there are hundreds of thousands of books to choose from. If we just described you, a person who loves to read and just doesn't have the time, then we want to hook you up. Go to audibletrial.com/Polititainment and you get a free month trial, and that includes one free book. Yes, even new releases, for free. You get a 30-day free trial with no strings attached, and at the same time, you help out your friends at Polititainment. Go to audibletrial.com/Polititainment. Get your books on the go by going to audibletrial.com/Polititainment today. Thanks.
When the sun goes down, things heat up at Afghanistan's only gentleman's club.
The Gaza Strip.
The only thing hotter than the desert sun are the girls. Don't just think about what's underneath that burqa, because we're the only gentleman's club where girls wear burqas you can
see right through.
We have specials going on every night. No cover to charge if your close relative was a suicide bomber on Martyr Mondays. And Tuesdays, we break all the rules. It's TNA Tuesday where women expose their toes and ankles just for you. Don't forget our Can't Miss Falafel Friday. And every night, DJ Al Jazeera plays your favorite Sharia-compliant songs. Check out our bathroom with indoor plumbing and running water, plus free valet parking for your camel. What more can a man want? Your new favorite hangout is just a stone's throw away. Leave your prayer rugs at home, boys. You won't need them at
the Gaza Strip.
This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
In this hour, you will be informed, entertained, and possibly offended. From the Kensington Place Studios, it's time for According to Me.
Nebraska, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Missouri, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Illinois. Yeah, I just mentioned 19 other states that have a version of the RFRA Act that was passed in the state of Indiana, the state that I broadcast in. And later on tonight, folks, we have just an action-packed episode for you. I'm going to be joined by Eric Fraze, who is going to give you a perspective that you're not going to hear anywhere else. But welcome, folks, to According to Me. Barack Obama and John Boehner's second most hated internet radio program, the 2-hour show that lasts 60 minutes. And I'm glad that you guys are here this evening, listening to us on our new home, our new live home every Wednesday nights and Monday nights, I should say. The 4-hour Politainment Hour got broke up a little bit. Now we're kind of like the 2-hour Politainment Hour, if that makes any sense, on Mondays and Wednesdays. I now follow Bunny. I used to be the opening act. Now I'm I don't know what I am, the encore, I guess. I don't know. But 10 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday night, you can join me live here in the chat room, which, by the way, I am in this evening at K98talk.com. Just join me in the chat. Certainly like to talk to you about the topics that we're going to be talking about this week. And, of course, talk amongst yourselves. But glad that you guys are here this evening. You can follow me on Twitter, by the way, at ATM_show. That is ATM_SHOW, where you get a slice of common sense, conservatism, and ADHD in 140 characters or less. And also, like the Facebook page of According to Me, just go to facebook.com/According to Me show, click like. And you may want to check out this website called Politainment.net. It's got some pretty sweet stuff on it. Great contributions from a lot of great writers. And then, of course, you get our podcasts and all that good stuff right on the site. But, hint, hint, we're going to have some really sweet-ass merchandise soon that I can't wait for you guys to see. And Angie, of course, just doing an amazing job at the stuff she does. It's going to be really, really good. But, again, thanks for being here, guys. Greatly appreciated. And, again, thanks for joining me in the chat. Now, Indiana has been the focus for this entire week now in regards to the RFRA law that they passed. And yet, here we are negotiating with a country that throws homosexuals off roofs and stones them to death. But yet we're concerned about baking a cake. I guess that's the big issue. That's the hot button issue here in America. But we're going to talk Indiana RFRA later on in the program, and I got lots of thoughts and opinions in regards to that. So you're going to want to make sure that you pay attention to that. And again, my guest later on tonight, man, oh man, I can't wait for you guys to hear what he has to say. I can't wait to talk to him, quite frankly. But let's talk the Iran negotiation really quick. And again, I know it's really easy for a lot of us to simply tune out in regards to the Middle East because, again, I'm 36 years old. We've been fighting over in the Middle East at one point or another my entire lifetime. So it's real easy to go, oh, wow, let me guess, there's a skirmish in the Middle East. I haven't heard that one before. But again, I am a person who pays a lot of attention to the Middle East because I think it's very important that we make sure that we do that, especially with what's going on now and the situation we're dealing in. We had a deadline last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. That deadline, by the way, was a red line. You know, the same kind of red line that President Obama set for Syria. Remember that? Remember the whole, if Assad uses weapons against his own people, we use chemical weapons. That's a red line. And then, he crosses the red line and no one cares. He doesn't care at all. And yet here we are, exactly the same situation. We continue to negotiate a day after the deadline that we set. And when you look at countries around the Middle East, when you look at Saudi Arabia, when you look at other countries in the Middle East, and even around the world, our word is worthless. It's absolutely worthless at this point because even when you try to talk tough, when you try to set a deadline as to when you will no longer have a conversation in regards to the nuclear program that Iran wants to have, you just go, well, okay, fine. If you need more time, it's cool. And all Iran's doing is kicking the can down the road. This we know. They're just kicking the can down the road and hoping that they'll get by them enough time to develop the weapons they need to develop and move on. That's really what it comes down to. And here's why this is an issue. If you have kids like I do, when you threaten your child that the next time they do this or they do that they're grounded, mister, and then they do that and you don't ground them, do you think they will all of a sudden behave on their own, or will they continue to do the thing that pisses you off? The answer is, of course, they'll continue to do the thing that pisses you off because there's no consequence. And the world knows that about us now at this point. When you look at the 5+1, the groups of countries that were involved in our negotiations with Iran, you look at you have France, China, Russia, Germany, and the UK. By the way, because of this deadline, France, China, Russia, they're out. See ya. Peace. We're gone. Half of the 5+1, they're out of here. And yet Josh Earnest in the White House looks at you and says, oh, this isn't really a big deal. I mean, only half the countries that even pretended they gave a crap about the Iran negotiations left the table because of this deadline that was passed and we didn't do anything. But it's totes cool. We're totally fine. And again, Barack Obama's totally serial when it comes to this whole situation. We don't see that as a breakdown and being unified. No, everything's fine. They got our back. It's cool. Now, when an Iranian general said yesterday that Israel's destruction is non-negotiable, verbatim, the elimination of Israel off of the face of the planet is a non-negotiable thing for Iran. And yet we want to have a conversation with these people. The same people who call us the Great Satan. Those are the people we want to have a conversation with. Makes sense, right? And for this administration or anybody on the left to say that they stand with Israel and they defend Israel, and you have Obama going, hey, things have never been tighter between me and Israel. You're negotiating with people who are proactively saying we want to kill these people, and we're having that negotiation. Now, with that said, we've never negotiated with Iran. We really haven't. And my thoughts on Iran are a little unique, but so are my thoughts and opinions on most things in regards to foreign policy and things along those lines. Look, it's hard to negotiate with people who say they want to openly kill you. I don't know if you've ever had to try to have a negotiation with somebody along those lines, but I'm assuming it's pretty tough to say, hey, I would like to be on the same page and see eye to eye with you. Well, I want to kill you. Well, then that's going to make things a little hard, because that's essentially what we're doing here in this particular instance. How do you have that conversation? At the same time, at least Iran, the thing I respect about Iran, and I've said this before, is the same thing I respect about Bernie Sanders in Vermont. Because Bernie Sanders just says, look, I'm a socialist. I don't care. Here's what I am. Here's what I believe. Iran does the same thing. The problem is we have countries like Pakistan, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, other countries in the Middle East who say they got our back, say they're on our side, but have absolutely nothing to do with having our back, and a lot of times are the ones harboring terrorists themselves. So at least Iran just come up and saying, look, this is what it comes down to. But the thing I also never quite understood in regards to it is, I can understand Iran's desire to not want to develop nuclear weapons, because the reality is, and I've never quite understood this, how do we as a country say, hey, look, you are crazy as hell, so you can't be trusted with nuclear weapons. Now, the United States and other countries, we're totally responsible with nukes. You're out of your freaking mind. You can't. Now, the answer is yes, they are out of their freaking mind. But if you look at it from Iran's standpoint, they're going, okay, so you can have these things, but I can't. So you can be trusted, but I can't be trusted. So I get why they would be like, no, look, we're not doing anything for you. And that's why they won't do anything for you. They just want the sanctions lifted to be able to possibly, spur economic growth in Iran. They're still going to continue to do what they do. And when you look at negotiating with people who believe in taqiyya, which basically allows, it's the code that essentially allows a Muslim to be able to lie if it is for the betterment or the advance of Islam, then it's totally fine. So they can look you in the eye and say, look, we're not going to develop weapons anymore. Right? They could say all those things all they want, but they can lie, and their religion says they could lie as long as it advances the Prophet Muhammad and Islam. It's fine. So again, how do you have negotiations with people who want to kill you? And more importantly, you have an administration who is continually showing that they are absolutely inept at negotiations or even having a consistent foreign policy. You see that time and time and again in the Middle East, and it's playing out. And yet here we are again talking about Indiana again, and we're going to talk about it because it's important, and it's in my state, and it pisses me off, which we'll get to here in a second. But here we are having the conversation time after time after time in the Middle East about the beheadings of people. You have ISIS spreading out of control. You have Iran negotiations wanting to wipe Israel off the face of the map, and yet the top story this week is Indiana, right? A state that has a law that's similar to 19 other states in the union. A state that has a law that's almost identical to what the federal government already passed 20 flipping years ago. That's what we're talking about here in America. We are going to talk about that again on the show only because I want to cut through the rhetoric, cut through the BS, and really give you the information you need to know. But in regards to negotiations, it boggles my mind that Barack Obama continues to feel, and the left continues to feel, the media continues to feel, that he has a real strong sense of how to negotiate. I mean, I guess he's proven it very, very well to the point where he's getting cocky. And, quite frankly, I got to level with you guys. I have two cars. One car is kind of, it's on the fritz. I've been car shopping, okay? And look, I like sales, and I'm a sales guy myself. But the reality is when it comes to car buying, I just hate it, and I hate the negotiation thing. And quite frankly, I'm just not that good at it. And so, Rick, I hope you're ready here. I recorded, a meeting I had with the president in regards to negotiating in my new car. I just want to share that with you. Rick, take it away if you have that ready.
And now, Barack Obama shows us how to negotiate. Lesson 1, shopping for that new car. President Obama, I got to say thank you for meeting me here. I mean, I feel kind of overwhelmed. I'm not really good at negotiating. No problem. That's what I'm here for. So what kind of car are you looking at?
It's that Cadillac CTS over there. Look, it's a beautiful car, but I mean, the guy told me like the most they'll go down is like $1,000 below sticker price. That's nuts. No way I'm paying that.
Well, let's just say I used to own GM, if you know what I mean. So, pretty sure I can get us a good deal.
Hey, guys, how you doing? Anything in particular you're looking for today? Oh, hey, Mr. President, how are you?
Paul, it's a privilege. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well. My friend and I here want to get a price on this Cadillac. And let me just say, as a guy who used to own this company, I expect a good deal.
I'll see what I can do for you guys, of course, absolutely.
Right now, we're willing to make you an offer of $62,000 on that Cadillac.
What are you doing?
I got this.
Mr. President, we appreciate the offer, $62, but, the sticker price is $55.
You just offered him $7,000 over the sticker price. That was too much as it is. What do you...
Hey, who's doing the negotiation here?
You are, I guess. Whatever.
Listen, I'm running out of patience here. I'm going to draw a red line. $65,000, that's it. Actually, forget that. It's time to play hardball. Fine, $70,000.
Are you nuts?
Listen, I got them right where I want them. Since it sounds, Paul, like you're not taking this offer seriously, why don't you get your manager?
I'll get my sales manager. Hold on a second.
So, what have you learned so far?
I've learned that unless you're negotiating with Republicans in Congress, you're awful at this. I'm out of here.
Fine, suit yourself. But I'm pretty sure I could have talked them down to a 17% interest rate. Hey, how much you want for the upgraded floor mats?
Join us next time for even more tips on how to negotiate like a pro with Barack Obama.
Folks, when we come back, we're going to talk RFRA in the state of Indiana. Stay tuned. That's next here on A Quarter.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Vice President, members of Congress, my fellow Americans. Free stuff. Free stuff. We've created 12 million jobs. Free stuff. College. Free stuff. Equal pay for women. Free stuff. I'm going to have Joe Biden do things. And free stuff. We've got crumbling roads and bridges I still haven't fixed yet.
Let's see. More free stuff. Climate change. Free stuff. Let's work together. Because that's what Americans want us to do. In the interest of bipartisanship, I'll veto everything Congress proposes. More taxes for more free stuff. And I'll end with this. Free stuff. God bless you. And may God bless this great country with love. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to the show, folks. Now, hope you're having a good April Fool's Day, by the way. I hope you didn't fall for anything stupid. I did, actually. I was on Facebook, and I saw that Yuengling beer was coming to Indiana. And if you're not familiar with Yuengling, it's brewed in Pennsylvania, and you can get it in some parts of the country, but it's never been in Indiana before. And there was this, article that was online, and I'm like, dude, Yuengling! And then I found out it's an April Fool's joke. And it actually really pissed me off. So hopefully that didn't happen to you. Hopefully you didn't fall for too many April Fool's issues this year. But it's always fun. My kids have fun with it, too. They messed around with their teachers today. And, it all depends. I mean, sometimes people take it too far, though, too. I had a friend of mine who had like this elaborate plan of telling his mom that, him and his fiance were about to have a baby, and it was like this huge to do. He like had this elaborate plan and got everyone's hopes up to be like April Fools, and I'm like, you're a jerk. But hopefully that didn't happen to you today. Just innocent fun. It's always good to kid around. And welcome back to the show, guys. But again, don't buy cars with Barack Obama. I learned that pretty quickly here. I learned that a 17% interest rate is probably not a good deal, especially if you have pretty good credit. It's paying $15,000 more than what the sticker price says. But again, that's who you're dealing with here. You're dealing with the best negotiator on planet Earth, known as Barack Hussein Obama. But speaking of negotiations, and speaking of a real crisis, the crisis now that stands before us is the RFRA bill in Indiana. And the problem with people not knowing their American history is when laws like the RFRA bill pass in Indiana, like they did last week, we as a country don't know how to react, because we're like, well, wait a minute, they wrote a law about freedom, religious freedom. I mean, what? That's not fair. Well, considering our country was practically founded on religious freedom, considering that is the First Amendment, for God's sake, in regards to the freedom of religion, not freedom from religion, but freedom of, meaning it allows you to be able to practice any religion you want to. And most people go, look, you can do that. No one's saying you can't do that, but you can't discriminate. And no one ever said that this law was about discrimination in the first place. Look, the legislation is just absolutely poorly written. It really is. I mean, if we want to criticize it, let's criticize for the fact that it's just written piss poor. And Mike Pence sure as hell wouldn't win a gold star on the debate team. I mean, what a bumbling goof. It's like, well, I wouldn't say. But at the same time, when George Stephanopoulos is going in for the kill, he wants a soundbite, man. He wants a one-word answer. He wants so yes or no, could you discriminate against a gay couple under the Indiana law? Oh, Mike Pence said yes, and that's all we'll play in the highlights, and that's all that will be spread around the interwebs is the fact that Mike Pence said, yes, you can discriminate. And, and I said this last week. I said, look, I guarantee you they're going to go back and they're going to change the verbiage in the law to where it will not allow for discrimination of same-sex couples, so on and so forth. Even though, of course, it never mentioned, the same-sex couples are gay, lesbian, transgender, the LGBTQ, LMNOP community. None of those people were ever mentioned in this legislation, but yet for some reason that's all what it's been about. And I put this on Facebook and Twitter last week, and it got some really interesting response because, again, I'm about 90% libertarian. I'm not full-fledged, but damn, I'm close. And I said, look, the libertarian stance on the RFRA law in Indiana, it goes like this. Look, there shouldn't be a law that says you can discriminate against somebody. There shouldn't be a law that says you can't. Let businesses and their business decisions live and die on their own merit. Let the free market allow a bigot company or a company that's owned by somebody who's a racist or a bigot or a homophobe or hates Jews or whomever the case may be. Let that person fail or succeed based on their business practices and get the government out of it. We're writing a law that says you can have free speech. That's basically what it is. We already have the First Amendment, but of course we never abide by the Constitution. So now we got to write a law that reinforces the fact that you have the First Amendment. That's basically what this law is. And in a perfect world, we could have a libertarian-like stance on it because really it's the best way to do it. Look, you want to discriminate against somebody? Go ahead. Go ahead. It's a stupid business decision, but go ahead. And let society, let your community go, hey, that guy's a freaking jerk. I'm not supporting that guy's company. Because that's what capitalism is. That's what the free market is. Just like if you go to a restaurant with terrible food or terrible service, that place goes out of business. Why? Because enough people in the community say that place sucks. I'm not shopping there anymore. I'm not going out to dinner with my wife there anymore. It's the same idea. It's the same idea. But yet we'll never have that conversation. No. It's got to be open to everybody because it wouldn't be fair to say that you can refuse the service of one person in particular. And it always has to turn into a gay versus straight thing, and I don't understand why. Because by that same rationale, I as a man, and I'm asking all men around the country, and I've said this before, but I'll say this again because it's topical. I'm asking all men around the country to tomorrow, between tomorrow and Friday, I want you to go to your local Curves gym. You know, the gym for women only, you know, the workout facility. I want you to go there and I want you to insist that you become a member because it's unfair to be discriminated against as a man. You want to practice fitness and you want to get physically fit and you want to exercise in this facility. It's closer to you. It's nicer than the gym next to you. And you don't have the right to tell me as a man that I can't be in Curves. Now, you may think that's a stretch, but it's really not. Because Curves can say, hey, guess what? Our business model is we cater to women. You don't like it? Go somewhere else. There's plenty of other gyms who you can go to, guys. This one's for women. Deal with it. You look at Abercrombie & Fitch, and this is an example I've mentioned before. You have Abercrombie & Fitch last year or so that they don't make, T-shirts that are bigger than XL. And the news was like, well, why don't you make T-shirts that, fit all walks of life and all shapes and sizes? And the other company's like, no, I'm not doing that because good. You know what? I want sexy people to wear my clothes. I want the cool kids to wear my clothes. And guess what? A guy who's rocking a 5X T-shirt probably isn't a cool kid. So guess what? He's not going to wear that shirt, and I'm not making that shirt. You don't like it? Go to hell. Don't shop at my store. And you know what? I applaud for the guy. Why? Because it's his business. It may not be the best business decision, but it's his business. He can do that. I guess Lane Bryant better start carrying petite clothes immediately under the same idea. Because here's the way I look at it. The problem is the reason why this law was put into place is because of lawsuits. Because you have gay couples who purposely go, there's a Christian bakery. Hey, why don't we ask them to make a wedding cake? And then we ask them to make a wedding cake, and then they say no, and then we sue them. And then we put them out of business. And if we don't sue them, at least the city or the state, because there is no RFRA law, will fine them to obscene amounts of money in which they'll have to close their doors. And so we're purposely targeting businesses and putting them out of business. Look, if you want to protest, if you want to go on Facebook and tell everybody that this bakery is bigoted or so on and so forth, go right the hell ahead. But to sue them and put them out of business is just, it's too much of a stretch. And that is why that law needs to be in place for that particular reason. The thing that bothers me about it is everyone looks at this lawsuit and goes, look, bottom line is it's just a way for conservatives to basically say, hey, we want to get gay men out of certain establishments, and we're against gay marriage and so on and so forth. Look, the ship has sailed on gay marriage. The bottom line is it really has. At this point in time, there's a large majority of the United States who support it or at least are okay with it. And again, if government wasn't involved in your marriage in the first place, we'd probably be doing okay. But that's not the case in this particular instance. But the reality is that, they talk about code language. They talk about, well, isn't this just code to be anti-gay? Well, what about the code language from the left and from atheists and agnostics who are completely anti-Christian? What about that? What about going after those people who just be like, well, look, I mean, you can't do and say those things. There are people who go out of their way to attack Christian organizations for the simple fact that they're Christian, and they don't like that. Now, again, it's the thing that bothers me for quite some time is let's celebrate diversity. Let's be diverse. Let's welcome all walks of life, all shapes and sizes, all sexual orientations, unless you disagree with me, and then you can go to hell. And that's the game the left plays with all of this stuff in regards to it, and it pisses me off. I mean, should a Jewish bakery bake a swastika cake? Should a black baker or a black bakery bake a KKK cake? Of course not. Tell them to go to hell. Bottom line is, look, I'm in Indiana. I'm close to South Bend, Indiana. Okay, right in the home of Notre Dame. Big rivals with Michigan. Look, I can own a bakery, and I can have Michigan fans come into my bakery and say, "Get the hell out of my establishment. I don't serve Michigan customers. F off." Now, again, that could be a terrible business decision, and it would be, because it would probably cost me my business. But guess what? That is my choice to make that decision. And if Michigan fans want to tell me that I'm a jerk, and if Michigan fans want to tell other Michigan fans to never go to Jason's Bakery ever again, they can do that. Again, let the free market play out and protect people from being able to practice their own religion. Again, freedom of religion. It's the whole flippin' reason in the first place as to why it's the First Amendment. That's what it is. And it drives me crazy. Guys, if you want to read more information on this, the Federalist has some really, really good stuff in regards to the RFRA. Federalist.com, just great stuff that you really need to read. Because it really hits it out of the park and really shows you that the reality is what the mistake Indiana didn't say is they didn't say that you couldn't discriminate. And really every state has put that in their verbiage, with the exception of Texas, which I find ironic because Texas didn't do that. But yet, half of the jobs in the last decade have been created in Texas. The business world has no problem with that. But Indiana, let's boycott the NCAA tournament. Let's have Apple boycott it. Let's have Connecticut boycott us. Let's have there's some convention that wants to boycott us. You have celebrities who are saying, I'm not going to Indiana anymore. Hey, how many times have you been to Texas in the last year, jackass? Or 2 years or 5 years. Oh, that's right. It's an old law. So I guess an old hate law is better than a new hate law in your mind. Is that it? Okay, I get it. I guess let's ban Arkansas now based on the same thing for what they did this week too. Just drives me nuts. Drives me absolutely crazy. And pretty soon we're going to be joined by Eric here. And in fact, let me see if we have Eric on the show. Rick, if you can pipe in. Has Eric joined us yet?
Yeah, he's actually with you now.
Eric, you're here.
I am.
Eric, welcome to the show, folks. Let me tell you something, guys. Joining me on the show tonight is Eric Fraze, host of the Eric Fraze radio program on Blog Talk Radio. He's been on the Glenn Beck program several times. He's on Mix 93.1 and Jammin' 94.5, both in Boston. Unapologetically conservative guy. And Eric and I have talked back and forth over the last week or so. And again, you know this. I live in Indiana, in the hotbed of controversy recently, right in the middle of what many consider to be like the gay versus Christians controversy here. And so when putting a show together, I couldn't think of a better person to have on the show to discuss this with you. So Eric, welcome to According to Me, sir. How are you doing this evening?
Good. You have me taking notes for my radio show because this one is so good. I'm like, wow, he's really good. This is a really good show.
Oh, you see the checks in the mail, dude. But thanks for joining. I'll tell you what, out of all the people I know, you have one of the most unique stories of anybody I know. If you wouldn't mind just sharing with the audience, just let us know a little bit about you. And if you and I were in an elevator and you had to give me the 60-second story of Eric, what would it be?
Let me see. Hi, my name is Eric. I'm a born-again Christian. I used to be homosexual. I used to be a Satanist, and have a satanic church out of Salem, Massachusetts. But once I converted to Christianity, and God reached in and grabbed me out of that dark abyss, I found that Massachusetts was too liberal for me, and I moved down south to the conservative South, and that's me. Who are you? I guess that would have to be the Reader's Digest version. But I was, in the gay community for 20 years, and I guess you can congratulate me because I just came out of the closet. I'm hetero.
You don't hear that often, by the way.
You don't hear it that often, and it's not about people can we'll call you you're a self-loather and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it's just that God showed me the vast, intricate psychological and societal dynamics that led me to believe that homosexuality was not a choice and that it's who I was, and et cetera, et cetera. And I came out of it, but I lived, I guess you could say, among them for 20 years. So I even married in Massachusetts. So, it's what really started to, a few things woke me up to, from liberal to conservatism. First was the Boston Marathon bombings. When my home, Boston, the streets that I grew up on and worked on, literally, I worked at a restaurant right on that very block, was bombed, and the first thing the president did when he came to town was apologize for Islam. That started to wake me up. And then with regards to my gay marriage, my spouse is from El Salvador, and I wanted to get him here into the country legally. And when I called Senator Elizabeth Warren's office and then Congressman John Tierney, and this, said, look at this, it's a same-sex marriage, but I want to, it's about legal immigration. And in the meantime, you have thousands of people, criminals, et cetera, pouring over the border, giving people border patrol agents foot and mouth disease. Well, I have to get a $600 medical exam for my spouse. I have to get a police certificate for my spouse while you have gang members crossing over and drug dealers and drug lords. So the hypocrisy, it just, so many things opened my eyes, and God just performed a wonderful work. And now I see both sides of the coin.
Well, and that's why I wanted you on the program, because I thought if there's anybody who, because I mean, the RFRA law is something that's not new. And like I just said a little bit ago, I think, what is it? I guess a new quote unquote hate law is much worse than one that's 20 years old, I guess, according to the left and according to those who are outraged about it. Well, Texas has had it for a while, so that's cool. But because Indiana just passed it, then we suck, apparently, I guess. That's where it really comes down to. And I don't know if you heard earlier in the show, but like I said, I consider myself 90% libertarian. And so when I put it out there that just there shouldn't be laws that say you have to serve everyone. There shouldn't be laws that says that you can discriminate. The bottom line is you let the free market sort out this situation. And if you have owners who are bigots, if you have owners who are people who purposely come out and hate other groups or are just flat out rude to customers, those businesses are going to fail anyway. Just kind of curious your thoughts on the whole thing, because again, to your point, I'm a white Christian guy, so what do I know, right? I don't know what it's like. Well, you do. So if there's anybody who can give us kind of both sides, so that us crazy conservative Tea Party racists over here can really understand. I guess the other side of the coin in that instance. Like, how do you see this particular situation, and do you see the point of it in the first place?
Well, I don't know how much more I can add that hasn't already been said, in the sense that we already have protection for these freedoms in the First Amendment. But because common sense isn't too common, we have to reinvent the wheel and come up with this new legislation. But even when in an active gay lifestyle, I didn't care about a church not acknowledging my marriage. I just wanted my rights. I wanted the equal, I wanted my partner to, get my, whether it was disability benefits or visitation rights in the hospital or, et cetera, immigration status as a U.S. citizen. I just wanted my rights. I personally didn't think about the religion aspect, but there are some out there that, there's the gay mafia. There are very militant homosexuals out there that aren't satisfied. And, it's almost as though they're being vengeful, really. There's a war on the straight white man. And as far as Indiana's law goes, again, I'm not sure how much more I can add, because like you said, there have been it's unnecessary, first of all, again, because we have the First Amendment. That such a law is unnecessary, and why it's getting so much attention when there are numerous other states that have such a law, I don't get it. I don't get it. What are we being distracted from? What's going on? That's overall my take.
Well, I'm curious your thoughts on this, because I think a lot of this, kind of half kidding, when you look at the federal government passing this law 20 years ago, and everyone yawns and goes, yeah, big deal. I mean, the biggest RFRA case that I can think of was the Hobby Lobby case. Had nothing to do with homosexuality. Mm-hmm. Nothing to do with it. That was the biggest case that I can think of in my lifetime in regards to you have a Christian-based organization not wanting to pay for abortifacients, not wanting to pay for drugs that necessarily birth control, but drugs that will kill children in the womb they don't want to pay for. And that's also what, the RFRA allows a business to be able to do. So it just really bothers me that it's just become nothing more than a gay law, apparently. And I really think it has to do with the fact that people are so bent out of shape about it is because it's 2015. And the reason why it's 2015 is you look at, the problem that conservatives, I think, make the mistake of, Eric, and I'm just curious your thoughts on this, is, we don't want to pay attention to the Oscars. We don't want to pay attention to the Grammys. We don't want to pay attention to culture as a whole. And I think that that's the reason why this is such a big deal is our culture also has completely embraced the fact that it's okay to hate Christianity, and it's totally okay for other folks to have certain privileges and certain advantages that others can't have in America. And when you look at the Grammys and Macklemore, performing a song about right-wing conservatives that think you can just turn gayness on and off, you can't change who you are. I mean, that was the whole premise of the song. It won a freaking Grammy, for God's sake. Mm-hmm. I'm curious your thoughts in regards to that. It also ties into your particular situation. So culture has a huge influence overall on the youth of American people going, yeah, this is totally fine. And I'm not saying it is or isn't. That ship has sailed. I don't care. Your sexuality is number 49 on the top 50 list of things I give a crap about when it comes to things that are going on in our country right now. Again, the world is on fire, and yet we're concerned about baking a cake in Indiana for a particular couple. And I just don't get it. But my question to you is, your recent change of, essentially saying, look, I'm no longer going to be gay. God has given me a different path. Many would disagree with you on that. Many would say, you can't do that. You can't turn that on and off. Macklemore said so. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Jesus said narrow is the way that leads to life, and few there are who enter in. And, if you really love God enough, I tried the gay Christian thing for a while. Anybody that says they're a gay Christian, it's really an oxymoron. You can't serve two masters.
And it's funny you say that. I will tell you that
you either embrace the word or you don't. I mean, that's it.
Before I knew that you had, come out on the hetero side, if you will, I was telling people, because I knew you as a gay Christian conservative. That's when I first knew of you. And I told a friend, I'm like, hey, I'm having somebody on the show next week who's a gay Christian conservative. He goes, so he hates himself twice? What the hell's that about? Kind of half kidding, but half serious. And I'm like, well, I don't know, but I think it's going to be a real interesting take. So this is even news to me in regards to your change there. But not to cut you off there, but I'm just, I'm just fascinated by the conversation as a whole.
Right. No, and I'm the kind of quote unquote gay man that gays despise, because I would be a threat to everything they stand for when they say it's genetic. Well, it's not. First of all, I mean, that ship has sailed. I mean, that they've done studies and it's not genetic. And through Christ, the thing is, I had to find out where, I had to get to the roots of the psychological genesis of homosexuality, at least in me anyhow. Where did this come from? And as I traveled through time and into the past, I realized, okay, there's this here, there's that issue here, there's this family issue here, there's this societal issue here. And it all, between an open and affirming society, quote unquote, it just led me into a lifestyle that I shouldn't have been in for 2 decades. So it's possible to, if you're dedicated enough and committed enough, to find your true self. So, it's these, I I don't know how much, and I kind of felt bad because I'm like, I don't know how much I can add to the show tonight because I'm going to be kind of agreeing with everything you say.
Well, I don't want you to be, but that's fine.
Well, truly, but I may even be a little bit more extreme because this is part of the overall immorality and degradation of American society. And I think the only reason that God hasn't wiped America off the face of the earth is for the prayers because of the prayers of the faithful. And I mean, I don't mean to go all Westboro Baptist Church on people, but homosexuality is a great sin that God wiped out 2 cities for. So again, I don't know if I'm really the right one to ask about, the RFRA because my views have changed considerably. And as I mentioned, and I'll echo what most radio hosts and talk show hosts have been saying, that it's unnecessary because we have the First Amendment. And like Stu said in the Glenn Beck program, we broke away from the United Kingdom for religious freedom, not for gay marriage.
Sure.
And I thought that was very poignant. But we're seeing the overall godlessness of society. Everybody's stamping out God. In the meantime, we have an insidious, diabolic administration that is escorting in Islam and Sharia law in very not so subtle ways. If anybody with more than 2 brain cells would just pay attention. And it's not conspiracy theory. It's not conspiracy theory to say that this man is a Muslim. It's known. You know a tree by its fruit. And, I find it hard to believe that all these hosts, these radio hosts, they're like, oh, and I can't believe Obama's doing this. I can't believe Obama. He's doing exactly what I expected him to do in his last 2 years. He's unhinged. He's a traitor. He is the enemy. And, he is pushing, he's a Jew hater. He hates America. And, I don't know why he just doesn't give Iran some of our own nuclear weapons. And while he's at it, program in the coordinates of American cities. Because, he hates America that much. He really, really does. He didn't grow up here.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with the fact that he's a Muslim. I think he's too megalomaniacal to actually believe in any sort of faith whatsoever. I think that he's a star of academia. He is believes, I'm sure, that none of this stuff exists. I'm much too smart for all of all these simpletons and stupid small-minded people with their gods and their guns and their religion. I think he really means that. I think really what it comes down to is he's a star of academia who is an American apologist and believes that he needs to undo the wrongs that America has created over the last decade or over the last century or so. And in fairness, there have been many wrongs that we've done over in the Middle East as well. But, you're certainly not doing any favors by any means. And the fact that he, openly and honestly has done everything he can to spit in the face of the Jewish nation of Israel is just absurd. And the fact that the White House and many members of Congress, both on the left and on the right, will attack Indiana over a law. But here we have an administration who is negotiating with a country that stones homosexuals and throws them off of roofs. That part's okay, I guess. And the fact that people can't see that hypocrisy just is mind-boggling to me.
Well, that's a hypocrisy that I pointed out also to Senator Elizabeth Warren's office, and you get quickly shut off. I mean, Obama's somebody that plays all sides against the middle. Not to get off topic because I know we're talking about the RFRA, but I have a friend who is a 32nd degree Mason who drove George Washington's Bible to Washington D.C. for Bush 43's inauguration. As a courtesy, they extended the same offer to the Obama administration, to which the administration replied, no, thank you, because they're going to have Thomas Jefferson's Quran out of the Library of Congress for a separate inaugural ceremony, aside from the one that we saw when he used Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King Jr.'s Bible. So the man has very strong ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. And he is a Muslim. It's what, he If you watch his behavior, he does things that Muslims would do. The IHS, which represents Christ, in one speech that he gave, was literally boarded up and painted black. I forget if it was a church or a religious college that he gave a speech at. Who he is. I mean, in my opinion, well, it's fact. I mean, the ship has sailed on who and what he is. But as far as the gay community goes, he knew how to appeal to the gay community because the majority of the gay community are deviants anyway. And so if you remember the Obamacare, he did the Get Covered commercial for the gays. You just Google gay Get Covered Obamacare on YouTube or something. Search it on YouTube and you'll see all these men in Speedos, with like candy canes saying get covered, and like, what does Obama care about sex now? So he knew that, the majority of the gay communities think with their genitalia. And, what does homosexuality have to do with the St. Patrick's Day parade or being Irish, for instance? What homosexuals don't understand is the reason that's such a hot button topic is because it's about intimacy. It's about sex. It's about what they do behind closed doors. It's not like being black. That it's not. So you can't pull that card. It's about what you do in the bedroom. It's about your genitalia and your sexual preferences, and it's I could go on. But,
well, let me ask you something because I'm curious in regards to this. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
No, okay. So how does someone? Because I know this is new to you, so if you haven't crossed that bridge there, pardon my question here, but I'll just be blunt, and I know that you don't mind blunt questions anyway. So how does one who is attracted to men for 20 years all of a sudden say, yeah, I'm not into that anymore. I'm actually into chicks. How does that happen? I guess it's fascinating to me. I'm just kind of curious as to how you got to that, other than the fact that you say that the Bible clearly states that. But how does one get to that journey? 'Cause it's a very brave journey, and one that many people will just simply go, well, yeah, but I've been doing this so long that even if I hear those voices, I'm just going to continue to do what I do. That's a very, very hard thing to do. We hear people coming out of the closet all the time, but on the, going from, this trying to pretend who they are, you're doing the opposite, which is very, very unique. Just what are your thoughts on that overall?
Well, it was a process. It didn't happen overnight. I didn't wake up and say, it's funny because I'm using some of the same arguments that gays use against straight people. I didn't wake up and say, hey, I'm straight. It was a process over time. I read scripture. God started working on me in 1997. I believed that I actually dated a girl that I was in love with when I was 25 years old for like a few months in between all this. And, and because of sheer miracles and study and research that I saw, I believe the Bible to be the infallible word of God. And therefore, if the Bible is the infallible word of God and it says homosexuality is wrong, then it's wrong. Just like if the Bible says 2 + 2 = 5, I'll bet you $1 on a hole in a donut that at some point in history or some point in the future, 2 and 2 is going to equal 5. So I started with the premise that God was right and I was wrong. And in obedience to him, I said, well, let's research this. And it was a struggle. Obviously, if he started working to me in 1997 and here it is finally 2015 and I'm out of the darkness. So again, it was a process, and the physical attraction has a lot to do with wiring. It has a lot to do with psychological damage. It has a lot to do with inferiority complexes. The psychological dynamics of homosexuality are such a cluster F, that it's a miracle and it's a grace. It really is a grace to be able to get through it. And I don't mean to sound like I'm a hater now, because it's not. I am probably a little extreme now because I'm finally out of it and I'm angry at myself for wasting 20 years of my life. I'm angry at the gay community for the lies that were spread, and they believe, they believe their own lies. They believe that it's, they can't help it, but I've seen differently. I've come out of that, so again, it wasn't a process. And it's funny coming out straight. It's like, will you accept me? Will you accept me for who I am? Because I like girls.
Right. That's crazy. But Eric, thank you so much for joining the program this evening. Now, you do your own radio show, of course, on typically Friday nights, correct? Can you let the listeners know a little bit more of ways of kind of how to follow you on social media, listen to your show, and just learn a little bit more about yourself?
Sure, they can go to my website, ericfraze.org, ericfraze.org. That has all the connections to my Facebook, my radio program. I'm after this great show tonight, listening to you, I really need to go back, take my show back to the drawing board. No, truly, I'm serious. And it might be a new venue other than Blog Talk. But yeah, everything that I do, the primary thing they can do is go to ericfraze.org and then like me on Facebook. Connect to the Facebook page, like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. And then they can follow my journey.
Very cool. Well, Eric, thank you so much for being on the program. Sorry, we're going to have to let you go, but we'd love to have you back on the show if you'd certainly like to be on, and look forward to discussing other topical things with you in the future. Thanks again for joining us.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Eric. Folks, Eric Fraze. Agree? Disagree? Either way, hopefully you found that to be a pretty captivating interview. At least I know I did. Before we wrap up the show, as always here on According to Me, we have some fun things that we always like to end the show on a funny and light note. And that is, I hope you're ready, Rick. Get your fingers ready, because it is time for this week's Ass Hat of the Week.
It is time for this week's Ass Hat of the Week.
This week's Ass Hat of the Week, Rick, if you have it ready, I'm not going to say anything. Just play it. Just play it and sing along, folks, and prepare to laugh your ass off. Rick, take it away.
Give me just a sec. You caught me flat-footed. Sorry.
Oh, jeez. Rick, you were doing great.
Yeah, you threw me off. We went through a whole break when didn't do anything, and now I'm confused.
I know. Were you going to interrupt, Eric? Because I wasn't going to.
No, hey, it's fine. Commercial-free, folks. Check out rollingonthefloor.laughingmybutt.com. You can find it by taking each one of those words, put the first letter in each one, put a www.inthefront.com on the back. Now we can be commercial-free, no problems. All right, here we go.
Can you see my dawn's early light was so proudly hailed as a twilight last week, whose monster sent bright stars who the perilous fight over the ramparts we watched was so gallantly spread. And the rockets red glare, the bombs bursted in air. We proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? And the land of the free and the home of the brave.
That was the drunken rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner, brought to you by, you would think it could just be some hillbilly off the street. It could be somebody who just has absolutely no sense of pitch or tone or any of that stuff, but you'd be wrong. Well, maybe you're right, I guess, because this week's Ass of the Week, that absolutely pathetic, terrible, and the Rockets, red glare, is Vince Neil. Yeah, the singer of Motley Crue. And it's ironic that in 2015, Motley Crue's hanging it up. You think? Oh, I couldn't have seen that coming. You got this asshat singing for you? Oh, you got to see the video of it. The audio doesn't do it justice. The video. This guy's like half in the bag. This guy's like, where's the microphone at? Yeah. Oh, say, can you see? Oh, dude, I'm telling you, It's like Afro Ninja. If you've ever seen the video Afro Ninja online, you watch Afro Ninja once and laugh. You watch it twice, you laugh more. You watch it 3 times, you really laugh. And then by the 80th time you've watched it, you laugh hysterically. That's how this is. I could hear this audio more and more and more. And every single time I hear it, I laugh more and more and more because it's that hilariously bad and funny. Folks, Vince Neil, you are this week's Asshat of the Week.
Tune in next week for another exciting installment of Asshat of the Week.
Folks, that's going to put the finishing touches on this week's episode of According to Me. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of this show. We learned about how to negotiate car prices with Barack Obama. We learned about the Iran negotiations, which has really equaled nothing more than us continuing to draw a line, and then people walk past the line, and then we don't seem to care. We just keep drawing the line with people who want us dead. That's going to work out well. And we talked to Indiana RFRA. Not only did you get to hear my opinions on it, but you got to hear a real interesting take from Eric. Make sure you check his stuff out and follow him on Twitter, and also go to ericfrace.com where you can read more about his story, hear his shows on every Friday night, and just an interesting take that hopefully you probably won't hear anywhere else but here on According to Me. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for K98 of being a nice and great home for the Polititainment gang to be at. Thanks for being in the chat room, by the way. We'll be back next week faster than you could say furious, and this has been Iran, the RFRA law, negotiating cars with Barack Obama, and more, According to Me. See you next week.
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the light side of life. If life seems jolly rotten, there's something you've forgotten, and that's to laugh and smile and dance and sing. When you're feeling in the dumps, don't be silly chumps. Just purse your lips and whistle, that's the thing. Hey, always look on the bright side of life. Come on. Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life. Worst things happen to see, you know. Always look on the bright side. I mean, what you got to lose? You know, you come from nothing, you're going back to nothing. What you lost? Nothing. Always look on the right side of life. Nothing will come from nothing. You know what I say? Cheer up, you old bugger. Come on, give us a quiz. There you are.
If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan. This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
The feeling most people get when they hear a Barack Obama speech, I felt this thrill going up my leg. I mean, I don't have that too often.
Steady.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. Ricky Robinson, host of America Off the Rails, will tackle the important issues facing America today as he tries to keep America from coming off the track. Get ready to hear the truth every Monday through Friday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, and on Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern and 11 Central here on K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network.
Welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.